Chapter 452, Zhuomo's Epiphany. Zhuomo suddenly felt the surrounding scenery greatly change, and the furious bellow that resounded in the air, instantly, allowed him to understand what had happened. His gaze instantly landed on Gu Xianxia, whose figure appeared 50 zhang from him. In that brief moment, their eyes met. From this, it was possible to see the difference in reaction between Gu Xianxia and Zhuomo. Even though his entire body was almost out of strength, Zhuomo did not hesitate and charged at Gu Xianxia. The common phrase was, a seal xiao at close quarters was like a chicken plucked of its feathers. When Gu Xianxia saw Zhuomo dash over with lightning-fast speed, his face suddenly turned white. He panically retreated, and the black gold seal soldier tried to rush over. Watching from above, one could see two figures furiously charging at Gu Xianxia like two bolts of lightning. Zhuomo sensed a strong feeling of danger came from behind him. He did not need to turn his head back to know that the black gold seal soldier was close behind him. Even though he had been a fraction faster in starting, but that midday blade strike had used up too much of his strength. He was truly at the end of his power. But if he hesitated a bit, he would waste this rare opportunity. If he was dragged back into fighting with that undying black gold seal soldier, with his present state, there was only death. Zhuomo grunted and gathered together the last threads of his power. A thin gold light appeared on his feet. Golden crow feet. His foot pushed off the ground. Zhuomo's body suddenly became a blurry shadow. Crack. Furiously retreating, Gu Xianxia's feet suddenly paused. He tightly covered his mouth, his eyes bulging like that of a dead fish. Clunk. With his last thread of strength used up, Zhuomo's body lost its balance in the sky. Like a sandbag reaching the apex of its arc, he had fell and smashed down into the ground. So motherfucking painful. Heavily falling on the ground, Zhuomo bared his teeth in pain, his skeleton feeling like it was going to break apart. He laid on the ground as he greedily breathed, not even willing to move a finger. When the trio saw Zhuomo lying on the ground, their expressions greatly changed. However, when they walked forward and found that Darren was only exhausted and nothing else had happened, they hurriedly propped Zhuomo up, gathered their spoils, and left. When Turtle Island saw Zhuomo being carried back, it instantly exploded. Everyone's expressions were peerlessly ugly. Without a second word, Gongsun Cha ordered everyone to gather. Even the one who always had a good temper, Wei Sheng, drew his black sword, his face murderous. Zhuomo hurriedly stopped the group. If they charge over like this, it would actually be harder to find the person. Zhuomo pulled everyone and hid in the little back room as they conversed and maliciously planned something. This matter was not finished. They have not acted. Tian Yongqing asked with a creased brow. Tian Hengbo was also puzzled. He shook his head. No, have they admitted defeat and gave up? It had been the Tian family manipulating this event from the shadows. It had been they who had told the news of the Ren family's death to Gu Xianxia, and their shadow was behind every step of the plan. Impossible. Tian Yongqing shook his head. They do not seem like people who would give up easily, otherwise, they would not have gotten into conflict with the Ren family in the first place. Then what are they doing? Tian Hengbo asked in puzzlement. Tian Yongqing thought of something and hurriedly asked, where is Qing Su Saren? In hiding. Tian Hengbao said, gave him a sum of jingsha and told him to go and hide for a while. That's good. A rock in Tian Yongqing's heart landed. He smiled and said, then we shall sit and see what they do. If it was up to me, I would just steal it, Tian Hengbo muttered. Steal. I want to too, but there has to be a reason. Tian Yongqing said amusedly, without a reason, how can we steal it? What reason do we need? Just steal it. Tian Hengbo said. Let Tianyi battalion go, they can steal it in a snap, do we need to waste this much effort? Stupid. Tian Yongqing stared at Tian Hengbo. Our Tian family is not this group of outsiders. If we do this, what would the other families think? Humph, don't think I don't know what you think. Don't you just feel that your fist is bigger? Yes. Tian Hengbo was righteous. The one with the bigger fist makes the rules. Then is our Tian family's fist bigger than Su Ling sect's? Tian Yongqing said with a cold smile, based on your philosophy, there should only be one sect in this area, Su Ling sect. Who is a match for them? Tian Hengbo instantly was speechless. Don't be stupid. Tian Yongqing said in a heartfelt tone, every family has their own territory. Su Ling City is the place where everyone does business together. Our Tian family cannot mess around, even Su Ling sect would not mess around. No one will care if you mess around on your home territory, but if you mess around in Su Ling City, everyone will not agree. Tian Hengbo did not speak this time. Thinking back, this was the truth. A while later, he hesitantly spoke, then how long do we have to wait for the reason? Don't be impatient, it will be soon. Tian Yongqing was confident. He ran. Suemo paused where he stood. He hadn't thought that Qing Su Saran had ran away. This caused all of his plans fail. Everyone's faces were slightly ugly. They had prepared, and planned for a long time, waiting to make trouble for the other. It was like a punch that had been preparing for a long time that missed its mark. The feeling was uncomfortable. Were they going to be unable to settle the score this time? Never the generous one, Suemo naturally did not feel good about this, and his hair almost broke as he pulled on it. But Qing Su Sanren had ran, and he could do nothing. He needed a target to make trouble for. They had thought of the fact that someone was the mastermind behind the scenes and planned on squeezing some information from Qing Su Saren's mouth, but this guy had ran away. This guy had thrown down some heavy words, but he was an impotent one. Zuemo furiously cursed this impotent guy, 100 times, 100 times. Qing Su Sanren had ran away, they could not find the mastermind. There was no way around it, the strong dragon could not suppress the local snakehead. Zuemo only had Shang Wei Ming. He was methodical when carrying out his normal duties, but in terms of finding information, his resources were very limited. He quickly did not think further on the matter. The other had not succeeded this time, and would definitely jump out next time. If he waited for a chance, he could grab the other's weakness. Wait for ye'll settle all the debts at that time. Suemo could only comfort himself like this. But the gains this time were a source of joy for Suemo. Gu Xiangtian was very rich, and what cheered him up the most was the 6th grade black gold seal soldier. Having experienced its power for himself, Suemo held it as though it was a precious treasure. What made his heart hurt was the damage his blow had made. It was clear that a section of the seal scripts on the seal paper had been damaged. Other than the black gold seal soldier, there were many jade scrolls for seal shio cultivation. Coincidentally, Suemo had a group of seal shio. This group had been troubled for a long time by the lack of jade scrolls to cultivate, and this time, they were overjoyed. Their cultivation level was too low and could not produce higher-grade paper seals. Low-grade paper seals did not have much use to the comparatively strong vermilion bird camp. Gongsun Cha, who had high hopes for them, could only transfer them to Golden Crow camp, and they only did work like engraving seals and formations. No one was interested in their paper seals, and they were always depressed over this. Gu Xiangtian's power wasn't very high, but his skill in making paper seals was very good. Desiring the power of seal soldiers, Suemo invested even more resources on the seal shio. He would instantly provide any materials they wanted. However, Suemo also knew that even if there were jade scrolls, his batch of seal shio would need a long time to reach the level he hoped for. However, this was still a good event. In this battle, what Suemo hadn't expected the most was not the black gold seal soldier, but the 1000-gem illusory disc. It could trap someone inside it. Suemo remembered it clearly. He had not been on his guard at all when he was attacked. In his view, that 1,000-gem illusory disc was a great weapon to make sneak attacks. Stay in the shadows, come out and suck the enemy in, that was a move hard to defend against. This event also rang an alarm for Suemo. Until now, Suemo had relied on brute power to fight after cultivating the great Daimyo physique and lost interest in other moves. This ambush reminded him about the power of talismans, especially good talismans. They were too powerful. No wonder the Yaoma had lost so badly to the Shio back then. Wasn't this the cause? He had entered a wrong path. He instantly recalled the armaments of his subordinates, and Suemo felt extremely regretful. The golden crystal swords could be considered top-notch, but other than that, there was nothing else that was acceptable to be seen. Their Ling armors were varied, and most of them were taken from their enemies in Little Mountain Jia, and were only third grade. Due to numerous battles, many of them were barely held together, and on the verge of falling apart. Theirs was a beggar troop. Looking at the troop decorated in various colors, Suemo came to this conclusion. And then he made a decision. Motherfucker. There only ever was I, Xiao Mo Gu, using talismans to smash other people. When was it other people's turns to use talismans to smash GE? Talismans? Wasn't that just competing on who had the most Jingxia? Did you not know that GE is the true Jingxia madman? Suemo ran over to Bao Yi and asked abruptly, how many pieces of Jingxia do we still have? Bao Yi stilled, but he held the accounts inside his heart. 1 piece of 6th grade Jingxia, 26 pieces of 5th grade Jingxia, 14,000 pieces of 4th grade Jingxia, 1,224,963 pieces of 3rd grade Jingxia. Suemo was shocked. This much? Shocked, he couldn't help but feel proud. Gu really is a Jingxia madman. Hearing this, just the number instills safety. 1 4th grade Jingxia was equal to 500 pieces of 3rd grade Jingxia, and 1 5th grade Jingxia was 1,000 4th grade Jingxia. 1,224,963 pieces of 3rd grade Jingxia was equal to more than 2,400 pieces of Jingxia or 2.5 pieces of 5th grade Jingxia. From a certain perspective, Xiuzha possessed increasingly more Jingxia with increasing cultivation, but the desire for Jingxia also increased because they had to use more of them. Of course, for the present Suemo, this number was enough for him to feel satisfied. Content, Suemo patted his tummy, his eyes smiling into lines. Gu is finally a rich man. Chapter 453, Spending Jing like dirt. Hearing that Big Boss Suemo needed to buy large amounts of talismans, Liao Qichang proactively came to visit with many talisman specimens. One of the things that had left a deep impression in his mind, on his last trip to the island, was that there were a lot of people. Suemo clearly said that he was going to buy large numbers. This time would be to outfit his battalion. This was major business. The Cloud Pavilion usually sold on the high-end products to the market, but there was no reason to not take such a large order like this. Liao Qichang had come personally with the additional hope that he could forge a good relationship with Suemo. The hall was full of people. When Lei Peng and the others heard that Boss was going to be buying talismans for them, they became alert and squeezed around to watch. Liao Qichang displayed the talismans he had brought along to Suemo one by one. This Blue Soul Cold Light armor is intermediate 4th grade. It can form a very thin but outstanding space shield, and can greatly decrease the damage caused by flying swords and talismans to the wearer. Because this space shield's nature is cold and icy, it is even more effective against fire element spells and flying swords. The formation techniques on it, slight flow, strong ice, can increase its defensive power. Inhales sounded inside the hall, Lei Peng and the others staring at the light blue Ling armor in Liao Qichang's hands as though they wanted to swallow it up. The light blue Ling armor seemed to be woven beautifully from fragmented ice. Space shields, wasn't that something only 5th grade Yao beasts would have? Everyone know how powerful that was. This was something good, something good. Liao Qichang was very satisfied with the expressions of Zhuo Mo's subordinates. This showed that his hawking had stirred their interest. This set of cloud wings were forged with a secret method using the top-grade cloud souls of our cloud Xijie. Its greatest attribute is its speed, as fast as wind, and would greatly increase your speed. I believe I do not need to speak more on the importance of speed. The elite of the battalion, especially scouts, should have this essential item. How fast is it? Why don't one of these men here try it on? Even Zhuo Mo was moved as he listened. He turned and asked, "Who wants to try?" Many pairs of hands instantly rose up. In the end, he chose Nian Lu. Nian Lu's display was extremely fast and caused exclamations. Everyone were people that stayed long times on battlefields, and they compared it in their minds. If the two sides were equal in power, and they had the advantage in talismans, then they really had a great advantage. For Liao Qichang, this was just the beginning. For a battalion, long-distance campaigns occur regularly. How can one lack a good steed? They can help save Ling power for you, allow you to fly for longer distances. They should be your most trusted companions. The cloud wings are fast, but they are not suited for long-distance flight. Here, let me recommend to everyone the best steed that is produced by our cloud Xijie, Nimbus Cloud. Like magic, a snowy white ball of cloud appeared in front of him. The tumble cloud is forged by harvesting flower sinew cloud. It reaches intermediate 4th grade, and can travel 3,000 li in a day. It does not need you to feed it, does not require you to spur it along, it is hardworking, uncomplaining, the best companion for you to travel the world and for long distances. Liao Qichang's words were like a river that flowed endlessly and emphasized spectacular feats. Zhuo Mo naturally would not be fooled by him, but the talismans this person put out were, truly, good talismans, and people's hearts would be uncontrollably moved. At the end, after Zhuo Mo and Gongsun Cha discussed it, Zhuo Mo placed, what could be called, a colossal order. When Liao Qichang took the order list, he almost fainted. The order included entire armor sets. Each set included one set of blue soul cold light armor, one pair of cloud wings, one pair of tiger-style flowing light boots, one serene heart intelligence hat, and a nimbus cloud. The abilities of this armor set were versatile, and any item in it was 4th grade, making this a true 4th grade armor set. No 4th grade set was cheap. The least expensive item in this was 60 pieces of 4th grade Jingshi, and the entire set would cost 500 pieces of 4th grade Jingshi. This kind of set on the market would not be considered high-end, but it definitely was not low-end either. Those that had the ability to buy something like this would be Xiuzha on the cusp of entering Jindan and had accumulated some wealth. Those Jindan that were not very wealthy might also wear a set of armor similar to this. What truly caused Liao Qichang to feel dizzy was the number at the end, 2,000 sets. An entire 2,000 sets. Mamma mia! That was 1 million 4th grade Jingshi, or 1,500 5th grade Jingshi, or 1 6th grade Jingshi. Even a person like Liao Qichang used to seeing big business couldn't help but become excited. 1 million pieces of 4th grade Jingshi. A rich man. Definitely a rich man. He rejoiced that he had come this time, it was worth it. Look, to spend Jingshi like dirt, the other didn't even bat an eyelash. Su Jingwei, who had also come, was left in shock. He had never expected Boss Sua, who did not seem so eye-catching, was this extravagant. Boss Sua was also really generous to his people. He had never heard of someone spending so much. A completely 4th grade talisman outfit. If this kind of battalion was put into public, just the treasure light on their bodies would be enough to tempt other people. Su Jingwei's eyes turned red. He might be a Jindan and didn't really lack Jingshi usually, but to spend 1,000 Jingshi, no, 1,000,000 Jingshi, he could not imagine it. How many talismans could that buy? He could even buy many 5th grade talismans. He didn't even know if he could ever make so much over his entire life. He had several good 4th grade talismans and one 5th grade talisman that Liao Qi-chang had given to him. Look at these people, they were Ningmai and were wearing 4th grade talismans all over. It was frustrating to compare. Su Jingwei shook his head as though he was the one paying the jingxia. Suo Mo's heart also hurt slightly. 1 6th grade jingxia. That was more than 9/10 of his entire wealth. Before, his total wealth had been 1,030 or so 5th grade jingxia, no he had just over 30 5th grade jingxia. But he thought that everyone's lives were more important. He gritted his teeth. Buy them. Having made the decision, Mo quickly finished paying the deposit. Humph. Compete based on talismans? Gu will let you see what is called competing on talismans. Fantasizing about battling in all directions with such an extravagant troupe, Mo was in both pain and ecstasy. Liao Qi-chang naturally provided all the services for such a large order. He didn't just agree to deliver the shipment to the island as quickly as possible, he had also agreed to provide a batch of materials for repairs free of charge. Talismans would be worn down and broken, but some slight damage could be repaired. Of course, if the damage was too great, then it would be scrap. Everyone in Vermilion Bird Camp was excited. Each set was 500 pieces of 4th grade jingxia. As expected, they had to follow Darren to live good days. With their cultivation, in any normal place, they probably didn't have to think about making 500 pieces of 4th grade jingxia without 7 or 8 years of work. Everyone had admired the outfit of the Golden Armor Guards for a long time, but no one had thought about owning a set. It was too expensive. In other places, only the personal bodyguards of those large personages could experience such grandiose treatment. But when they truly possessed such a set, many people felt as though they were dreaming. Even more people planned on passing this set of talismans to the next generation, even though none of them had descendants at this point. Suo Mo's move caused everyone to be moved. The quality of a boss depended on how good he was to everyone. Look at Boss, he took out 90% of his own wealth to buy talismans for everyone. They had never heard of a boss as good as this. They were all Xiuzha that had survived in Little Mountain Jie, a place that was selfish, cunning and full of schemes. They saw the realities of the world clearer than everyone else, and could feel the warmth in Suo Mo's actions better than anyone else. To a boss that could take out 90% of his wealth to outfit his subordinates, no matter if it was to buy their hearts or any other goals, how many could actually do this? And, more to the point, he did not have to do this at all. Following a boss like this, what more could they ask? No one said words of gratefulness and thanks, but no matter how difficult the times were in the future, none of these people would abandon Suo Mo. Old Su, what do you feel today? On the return back, Liao Qi-chang suddenly asked Su Jingwei. I feel I've lived half of my life for nothing, Su Jingwei said emotionally. Today really broadened my visions. Truthfully, I was also frightened today. Liao Qi-chang grimaced and said, I had thought that I had seen the world before, didn't think that I would be frightened today. 2,000 sets. This really is a headache. What? Su Jingwei was shocked. It is a good matter to have such a big order. It is good. But I hadn't expected him to demand so much. Now I need to spend effort to gather it all. Liao Qi-chang said, I had assumed that it would be pretty good if he wanted 200 or 300 sets. This time, I would probably have to borrow inventory from other places. Su Jingwei knew the abilities of his good friend and said with a smile, don't be outrageous. This kind of problem isn't something that a Darren like you needs to be worried about. You have so many subordinates, what do you need to worry about? Darren? Liao Qi-chang grimaced again and said, he's a true Darren. Young, and with such power, it really isn't luck. To be able to do something like this, his breadth of chest and his generosity, this is the first I've seen it in my life. We cannot be enemies with this person. The Tian family have made a great adversary this time. Su Jingwei said emotionally. Although Shan Wei-ming could not find the information on the mastermind, but for people on Su Jingwei's level, even if he did not know every detail about what was happening below, he would know the general shape of events. The Tian family have been too used to being proud these few years. Liao Qi-chang said this lightly and then stopped speaking. He was a businessperson, and he didn't want to be drawn into these conflicts. He suddenly thought about what Suemo had said before they left, that the business definitely had to be kept a secret. His heart shook. At the start, he had felt that the other did not want to attract attention, but thinking about it now, it didn't seem so simple. This boss wasn't a simple person. The tumble cloud is also known as the nimbus cloud or the magical cloud that Sun Wukong rides in Journey to the West. Chapter 454, Financial Crisis. Gue looked slightly better and this made Suemo very happy. Right now, the island was so big, Silly Bird, Lil, Pagoda, and the others went crazy in playing. They didn't know where they had run off to and gone to play. There were too many desolate places on the island as the Ren family's neglectful care of this cloud island allowed weeds and wild grasses grew in many places. There were also those deep caves, some of which were extremely deep. To the point no one knew what it was like inside. These caves became the playground of Lil, Pagoda and the others as they played happily. Since there was Silly Bird in 10th grade keeping watch, Suemo did not worry about any dangers. He was very busy in this while. The island was very happy. This group who was getting completely outfitted had smiles on their face. Yet what Suemo hadn't expected was Pu Yao had also come to see him. He asked him if Vermilion Bird Camp was getting new equipment, then why was Guard Camp not getting new equipment? Suemo stilled at Pu Yao's question and reflexively asked, weren't they cultivating MO skills? What equipment did they need? And then it was Pu Yao's endless scorn and disdain. Suemo became a country bumpkin with his words. Indignant, Pu Yao then made it out as though he was fighting on behalf of Shu Long and the others. That they were being raised by an evil stepmother, and only he cared for them. Feeling that he was going to go crazy, Suemo automatically surrendered. Suemo was informed that the MO cultivated MO skills and did have talismans and weapons. But their talismans and weapons were extremely rare, just 1 or 2 items which were called MO weapons. These MO weapons were mostly forged through secret methods from things like fingernails, hair, and feathers that were naturally shed as they cultivated MO skills, and gradually became talismans. MO weapons were far less complex than Shouja talismans but their power was not minute, because the MO would usually only have 1 MO weapon in their entire life. The time it spent with them was something Shouja could not imagine. Automatically surrendering, Suemo found a new problem. How was he to forge MO weapons? Fortunately, Pu Yao did not try to torture him, and said there was a cave on the island with heavy fiendish energy and was a perfect place for forging MO weapons. He only had to give the remains of the fiend soul beasts from the sealed extinction battlefield to Guard Camp etc. etc. Without another word, Suemo got Bao Yi to throw everything to Guard Camp before Pu Yao contentedly left. On the second day, Bao Yi came with a grimace to find Suemo. Darren, our financial situation is reaching a dangerous level. Bao Yi put out a grave expression as though he was not over-exaggerating. Suemo scratched his head and comforted Bao Yi, it should be okay. There are Ling veins on the island but most of them are being used on the Ling fields. Everyone's daily cultivation is based on using the black processing meditation mats again. Each mat requires 5 pieces of 3rd grade jingsha every day. Darren, this means that we need to give out 10,000 pieces of 3rd grade jingsha daily, or 20 pieces of 4th grade jingsha. Other than this, the island formation consumes about 1 4th grade jingsha a day. Each expenditure that Bao Yi said made Suemo's heart jump. But we do not have any income. Darren, up until now, we have not made 1 jingsha of income. The Kunlun battalion talismans we took from the battle cannot be sold right now in consideration of safety. Darren. Bao Yi's old face was so wrinkled it was like a prune. As the quartermaster, he knew about Sui Mo's wealth better than anyone, but he hadn't expected that Sui Mo would use an entire 6th grade Jingshi to buy talismans for everyone. In a blink, 90% of the Jingshi in the stores suddenly disappeared, and this caused him to feel unprecedented danger. It shouldn't be this serious, Sui Mo smiled weakly. And in this month, Chunyuqing Darren took 500 pieces of 4th grade Jingshi from me to buy Ling Beast offspring, and in the following plans, we need to invest approximately 5,000 pieces of 4th grade Jingshi. Darren, you agreed to this plan. Shu Long Darren has just taken 10 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi to buy all kinds of materials, he said you agreed. Bao Yi's expression was excited. 10 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi. Sui Mo's eyes suddenly became extremely round as though he wanted to eat someone. Pu Yao, you are too vicious. 10 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi in one go. Sui Mo gritted his teeth. Darren didn't agree. Bao Yi's eyes lit up, wanting to pull up his sleeves and take the Jingshi back. Sui Mo reacted and hurriedly waved his hands. No, no, no. I agreed. Bao Yi could not disguise his disappointment. Darren. Not soon from now, we will be in a situation where we cannot feed anyone. The harvest of flowing cloud silk is at least 3 months away, and Darren, you know that the income from Ling fields is basically nothing. Chunyuqing Darren's Ling beasts can be profitable, but that is at least 6 months away. In other words, we do not have any short-term income. When a good person was desperate, their presence was frightening. Sui Mo also feel the difficulty of the problem. If they kept spending at this rate, they really could not support it for much longer. As expected, it was not easy to pretend to be a rich person. Sui Mo found, dejectedly, that he had only been a rich man for 1 day before he was thrown back to his original state. Make Jingshi. Sui Mo wanted to cry. Su Jingwei made a deep sound. He hadn't expected Boss Sui to throw such a difficult problem to him. He had been very happy originally when Sui Mo came to find him. Boss Sui was very wealthy and was a good person to ally with. It was matching with his intentions of strengthening their relationship, that the other came to him to seek aid. But he hadn't expected Sui Mo to inquire about where to find Ling plant farmers. This was the method that Sui Mo had managed to come up with after wringing his mind. What the island had the most of were Ling fields. If he could truly use this, then the amount of Jingshi that could be made would be substantial. However, Ling fields required Ling plant farmers. The encounter last time caused Sui Mo to understand just how deep the waters here were, so he came to find Su Jingwei and inquire about the situation of Ling plants farmers locally. After thinking for a moment, Su Jingwei decided to explain the twists and turns in this. So he began by talking about the Tian family, how they made their wealth through Ling farming, their desire for Ling plant farmers, and how many Ling plant farmers they had recruited. Brother Sui, it's not that this old brother doesn't want to help, but my abilities are limited. Su Jingwei was slightly regretful. After hearing this, Sui Mo finally realized. He finally reacted and spoke, so it was them behind the incident at the Institute of Ling Plants. Su Jingwei remained silent. Sui Mo understood and his face instantly darkened. He had been fretful that he couldn't find the culprit. So it had been like this. He naturally understood the desire of a Ling farming family towards Ling fields, and also understood how disdainful they were of outside powers, as a local power. He even understood the plan that the Tian family had. It would have been fine if you did not provoke me, but since you are seeking death, then don't blame anyone. Sui Mo smiled coldly inside, his murderous intentions rising. Su Jingwei felt Sui Mo's murderousness and shook. He hurriedly urged, create wealth and harmony, brother Sui, don't be angry. I feel that the Tian family may not have maliciousness, they just want to lower the price. If Brothers Wa is willing. Zhuo Mo waved his hands and changed the topic. Is it possible to recruit from nearby cities? This old brother isn't clear about that. Su Jingwei shook his head. Brothers Wa should go ask Mr. Liao Jr. He has a wide network and knows much more than this old brother. Bidding farewell, Zhuo Mo went to Cloud Pavilion, and after asking Liao Qichang, he left with disappointment. Liao Qichang told him that it wasn't just the Ling plant farmers of Su Ling City that were hard to recruit, it was hard in the nearby cities as well. In this area, Ling plant farmers were resources in demand, and good Ling plant farmers were in higher demand. Liao Qichang also urged Zhuo Mo to sell to the Tian family or to trade to the Tian family for a cloud island of the same value. Was so much Ling fields really going to go to waste? Zhuo Mo wasn't willing. As to Su Jingwei and Liao Qichang's ideas of selling to the Tian island or to trade islands with the Tian family, Zhuo Mo definitely would not agree. With his vengeful personality, all that was turning in his mind was how to settle the score. This matter definitely was not finished. But right now was not the time to focus his attention on the Tian family. The Tian family was there and could not run away. He also did not have any evidence, and if they charged up to the door, they would land in a disadvantageous situation. You were able to scheme against us, so we also have ways to scheme against you. Zhuo Mo decided to throw this problem to Pu Yao. This guy had taken 10 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi from him without so much as a sound, how could he not work for it? Scheming. Zhuo Mo did not believe there was anyone that was more dark and perverse than Pu Yao. All of Zhuo Mo's attention was focused on one matter, making Jingshi. The Jingshi flowed as it was spent faster than water. A few days passed, and his purse lessened by half again. Bao Yi would come complain and cry to him every day, and the Jingshi in his purse was reaching the danger line. This caused Zhuo Mo to feel deep danger. But he really could not think of a good way to make Jingshi. He decided to gather everyone together. When discussing of fighting and killing, this group of people wouldn't even frown and would charge without regard for their lives. But when he wanted them to discuss making Jingshi, they instantly looked at each other and withered. Luckily, Master Sun Bao of Golden Crow Camp reminded Zhuo Mo, Darren, we can sell Golden Crow fire. That definitely should be easy to sell. We can also forge some talismans, or take some orders. Even if we cannot make much, we should still earn something. Zhuo Mo's eyes lit up. How did he forget something that was that easy to sell? Golden Crow fire was good. 4th grade Golden Crow fire was definitely a product in demand. At present, their assets couldn't be considered large, but they won't be afraid if others targeted them. Self-protection would not be problem. There were several Jindan on the island. As long as a Yuanying did not come, the problem would not be large. The problem of selling was even easier, they would sell directly to the Cloud Pavilion. Just as Zhuo Mo was overjoyed, Shang Wei Ming that had been wanting to speak finally opened hesitantly. Darren, this subordinate has an idea. Chapter 455, Immortal Crossing the Sea, I speak. Zhuo Mo said. He was calculating on how to best sell Golden Crow fire. Even though he had saved Shang Wei Ming, he did not put great importance on him. He had only given Shang Wei Ming affairs to manage because he was familiar with the local area. Shang Wei Ming gathered his courage and spoke, Darren, since we do not have enough Ling plant farmers, why don't we forge some Ling plant talismans? Or even sell some Ling plant talismans. This way, we can use all of our Ling fields. Zhuo Mo slapped his head. Right, how had he forgotten this? It seemed that it had been too long since he had worked on Ling fields, and his skills had deteriorated. With good Ling farming talismans, these Ling plant farmers would be able to cultivate a significantly larger amount. Sun Bao and Ji Wei's eyes lit up. Forging talismans was what they were best at. Zhuo Mo's mind having been suddenly opened, his thoughts became nimble. Other than talismans, there were also Ling beasts skilled in Ling plant farming. By combining talismans and Ling beasts they could work together and they could take care of more Ling fields. Shang Wei-ming had not finished speaking. He counted on his fingers as he said, since we cannot recruit any Ling plant farmers, we can nurture our own. We can start a Ling farming class. Right now, the city had many kinds of cultivation classes and the business is booming. On one hand, we can make Jingshi, and on the other, we can educate Ling plant farmers for our own use, or the production xiaoxia that we need. This is beneficial for the future. Zhuo Mo dazedly looked at Shang Wei-ming with a heated gaze. Genius. He had almost missed such a powerful genius. To be able to think of such a clever idea, what was he except a genius? Shang Wei-ming's suggestion instantly received everyone's support. They might not have come up with this idea, but they could see its quality at a glance. Snag Wei-ming's idea could accomplish multiple aims and was greatly beneficial to the long-term development of Turtle Island. Zhuo Mo had been worried about not having a way to make Jingshi, but he wasn't worried at all now. He already started to calculate, what did he have the most of? People. It was perfect for creating cultivation classes. Wei Xing's sword lecturing hall, that was a high-end sword xiu cultivation class. The cost would be one piece of 4th grade Jingshi every 2 hours. What? You think it is too pricey, we don't do discounts. Xia Shan would also open a sword essence class. He would work with the sword essence formation and provide the service for comprehending sword essence. Oh, sword essence was such a good thing, the price cannot be cheap. What? No money? No money, what are you cultivating sword essence for? Yi Zheng and Zhong Ru would open a Diana Xiu cultivation class. Yi Zheng was from Great Buddha Temple and had great knowledge. Zhong Ru's battle experience was high, had an abhina and his cultivation was in Jindan. A perfect, golden, and luxurious team. For forging cultivation class, the masters Sun Bao and Ji Wei could take turns with the other people of Golden Crow Camp as assistants. They could also display their Golden Crow fire and advertise at the same time. Qing Shidi would give animal husbandry classes. That guy would probably be unwilling, but since he took Ji's Jingshi, if he doesn't want to work, the rest of the money was still in Ji's hands. Of course, he would take the Ling plant farmer classes. He was an intermediate-level Ling plant farmer that had received the Summer Flower Jade Medal. The prices could be set to undercut the other classes, and he could get more people. Bao Yi, he could open a shop and slowly sell the talismans they had accumulated. The more Zhuo Mo thought, the more excited he was. There seemed to be 2 burning balls of fire in his eyes. Jingshi is boundless. What? Open a cultivation class? Tian Yongqing's face was shocked. Tian Hengbo's face was also strange. Yes, who knows what they are thinking. Oh, they also opened a Ling plant cultivation class. Ling plant cultivation class. Tian Yongqing laughed. They cannot recruit any Ling plant farmers so they thought up this method. Ha! Tian Hengbo laughed smugly. What can they do? We recruited all the nearby Ling plant farmers. Unless they are willing to go to more distant places, but in that case, even if the person is willing to come, the price will be higher. This group of people is very interesting. Tian Yongqing said with a chuckle, I remember our Tian family also has a Ling plant cultivation class. Guessing what his brother meant, Tian Hengbo smiled cunningly, yes, our Tian family's Ling plant cultivation class, that is the top-ranked one of Su Ling City. Get them to give a good display to these outsiders. If they cannot see our Tian family's strength in Ling plants, they would not give up. Tian Yongqing said. Ha! I like to bully people the most. Tian Hengbo grinned. Is it good if we do this? Nian Lu was struggling. Beside him, These experts of Sky Peak platoon that did not flinch when facing mountains of blades and fire all showed insecure expressions. What isn't good? Lei Peng did not care. Those who doesn't feel this is good only have to stop getting the allowance of Jingxia for the black processing meditation mat, and don't need to go, Ma Fan said lightly. The insecure expressions instantly disappeared. Each of them had twisted expressions and suicidal determination. Do this. Kill. What do we do? Yi Zheng looked at Zhong Ru with desperation. There is only the two of us as Diana Xiu. We can't compete. He wanted to complete what Darren had requested of them well so he could trade for Ling Dan as soon as possible. Yet, there were only the two of them who were Diana Xiu in the camp, and with limited labor they could not promote their class as well as the others. Zhong Ru thought, and then his eyes suddenly lit up. We'll go to borrow people. Borrow people? Yi Zheng's face was confused. When the Xiuzha of Su Ling City woke up that day, they found that the cultivation classes, that already seemed to be everywhere, had increased in number overnight. Suddenly, many Xiuzha were running around on the roads of Su Ling City. More than a dozen Xiuzha were all wearing blue soul cold light armor, each of them with a bright red flag that had in big characters, Xie's Sword Essence class. The troop was extremely organized, the person at the very front like a tower made from metal. He did not wear any armor, his upper half bare, heat evaporating from the steely muscles that were radiating with power. Almost as though he noticed the number of people, the steely man at the front waved the red flag in his hands. They shouted together, practicing the sword but not the essence, that is akin to just farting. The spectators were shocked. The large man waved his flag again and the shouts rang out in unison. Xie's Sword Essence class, if you can't get Sword Essence, we will refund it all. The rumbling footsteps seemed to rampage across the hearts of the spectators and left behind dazed passers-by. Su Jingwei rose up very early today. It was a rare that he woke up so early. Even though Xiuzha were not affected by age like normal people, time would still leave behind marks on their body no matter how great their cultivation was. Today, he decided to go visit his nephew. He was born to a normal family and the only one in his family that had any significant cultivation, a Jindan. He had a younger brother that ran a little business, and with Su Zhengwei's protection his brother's life did not lack for anything. His brother's son had pretty good cultivation talent. Just 13 years old and almost in Juji, which could be considered outstanding. He focused a great amount of attention on this nephew and would visit every once in a while to monitor his cultivation's progress. Just outside the door, he saw the street out of the corner of his eye, his steps suddenly paused and then his expression froze on his face. 10 Xiuzha in azure robes were sitting on 10 nimbus clouds. The 10 nimbus clouds were in a line that slowly floated along the street. At the very front was that very wealthy big boss Swa who spent Jingxia like dirt. They had managed to use something to write words onto the snowy white nimbus clouds. Each nimbus cloud had a great big red character that could be seen from a long way off. Su Jingwei reflexively read along the nimbus cloud and almost spat blood. Ling Plant Cultivation Class, includes work placement. A troop of fierce big men, yes, truly fierce and big men, each of them were more than 1 zhang tall. Chapter 456, Off with a Bang famous. Turtle Island cultivation classes became famous across Su Ling City. People crowded around every registration place for the cultivation classes, countless people waving their Jingxia in hopes of getting a spot. The Vermilion Bird Camp Xiuzha that had never seen such a spectacle before were rushed and clumsy as they hurried. The one that was most orderly was Wei Sheng Sword Teaching Hall. All incomers were respectful as they sincerely presented their Jingxia and then found a corner to sit silently after receiving permission to wait for class to start. Wei Sheng's powerful sword essence shook all of Su Ling City. Even Jindan Sword Xiu came to register. The first day passed in a hurry. The people that thought they could take a rest found to their shock that on the second day the number of people coming to register had exploded. Many people had held doubts the first day, but the skill level of Zhong Ru and the others had been shown during their first classes. The Xianxia that had been wavering hurried in. The busy scene in front of them seemed unexpected to everyone. Even Zuomo felt his scalp prickle. After a long time, Zuomo finally understood the cause. All the cultivation classes on the market were actually very low in terms of the skills they imparted. What did they have to do if they wanted to learn some substantial spells? Enter a sect. The cultivation classes that were on the market were really just used to get students to enter sections. Sects would have exams when they chose disciples. So when Zuomo and the others opened their cultivation classes, it was like a crane among chickens, and the skills they taught were much higher than other cultivation classes. The spells and tricks that Zuomo and the others passed on in their eyes were just the simple basics, but for the elementary Xianxia that were stuck outside the doors of the sects, they were profound truths. In one day, the name of the Turtle Island cultivation classes rose greatly. The Xianxia that attended the first day of classes were excited and passed the news on to their friends. What were they most afraid of when attending cultivation classes? Afraid that they would pay the jingshi but would not learn anything. Now they found that the teachers of these cultivation classes were all powerful. How could these people not go crazy? Because these cultivation classes came from Turtle Island, everyone called them by the general name of Turtle Island cultivation classes. The beginner cultivators were the largest group and also the group that was paid the least amount of attention. Most of them were not very talented, and it was very hard to even get admitted into a small sect. Most of the time, they survived as hired employees, learning one or two of the most basic spells and had difficulty eking out a living. No matter what Jia, mastering one more spell meant one more hope of finding a job. The more profound the spell, the better the job. For example, first-grade fire spells were the most basic and elementary fire spells. They could only do the most labor-intensive and difficult fire-related work, such as stoking fires. Second-grade fire spells meant they could enter a kitchen and cook some simple Ling dishes. Third-grade fire spells meant they could enter specialized medicine houses to treat all kinds of materials. There were enormous differences between the income of different grades of spells. But who held all the spells? Those small and large sections. In order to learn these spells, they could only enter these sects in order to learn them. Like the Wukong sword sect that Zuomo was in before. Now, it seemed a tiny sect, but even the second-grade sword scriptures of the sect were things that outer sect disciples had to pay contribution points to view. Just paying a certain amount of jingshi and being able to learn a pretty good spell, this was fatally attractive to elementary Xianxia. Zuomo definitely would not have thought that the effect produced by the Turtle Island cultivation classes spread at astounding speed in Su Ling City and even into more distant areas. Looking at the empty hall, Tian Zhongzhou showed a puzzled expression. In a few short days, his cultivation class went from 200 people to 3 people. The last 3 students looked at each other and silently gathered their things to leave the hall. They had only come with their last hopes. Seeing the Tian cultivation class like this, they instantly understood. No one was dumb. The Turtle Island cultivation classes were not cheap, but the spells they taught were much more profound than other cultivation classes. In the past, the Tian cultivation class was the oldest and most reputable Ling plant cultivation class in Su Ling City. Yet the students who had attended the Turtle Island Ling plant cultivation class never came back after that. Tian Zhongzhou looked on woodenly as the last 3 students left. His mind was dazed. A few days ago, the upper levels had asked to them to blow away this cultivation class. Tian Zhongzhou and the others had been full of motivation, each of them using all of their power and were waiting to beat the other down. In other areas, the Tian family didn't dare, but in Ling plants, who was a match for them in Su Ling City? Each teacher of the Tian cultivation class was full of motivation. The stuff that the Turtle Island cultivation class had taught on the first day were just tricks in the eyes of Tianzhong Zhou and the others. It showed that the other was not as strong as they were, so they would put their efforts on those unorthodox methods. Cultivation class, they were about strength in the end. Tianzhong Zhou and the others were full of confidence. Yet this suddenly change turned everyone dumbstruck. No one had expected the Turtle Island cultivation classes that they thought of as clowns to gain such popularity and become unstoppable. In the span of a few short days, the students of the Tian cultivation classes quickly left. At the start, Tianzhong Zhou had thought, these students should never think about coming back to class ever again. Including him, the teachers of the classes had used all their skills. They had never worked so hard before, never been so professional. They hoped to use this method to stem the tide. Yet they quickly found that all efforts were useless. The number of students that came everywhere lessened. Coming out of his thoughts, Tianzhong Zhou's eyes filled with blood. His hands unconsciously balled together and his discontent erupted. Why was it like this? Why? He suddenly walked out. His face was determined. He was going to see just how evil the others' cultivation class really was. He wasn't even in the mood to clean up what was on his table and left without a glance back. He was going to expose the others' tricks in front of the public. A light drizzle came down as he walked. Tianzhong Zhou walked quickly and did not detect the pitter-patter of rain against his body. It was very easy to find the Ling plant cultivation class of the Turtle Island. He only need to make a few inquiries and found the general location. Tianzhong Zhou was very familiar with Su Ling City and quickly found the place. The deep little alley was completely silent. It seemed these people were not very wealthy. The location of this little alley was not good and it used to be one of the most remote areas where no one would come. Tianzhong Zhou recovered some of his confidence. Compared to this place, the location of their Tian cultivation class was in the golden stretch of the inner city. Yet when Tianzhong Zhou turned the corner to the alley, he seemed to be paralyzed. People sat on the ground of the long and narrow alley. Their faces were upraised as they listened intently to the sound coming from the end of the alley. The entire alley was filled to the brim but silent. No one was speaking. Tianzhong Zhou was astounded. Suddenly, an unspeakable feeling filled his chest and his lips uncontrollably trembled. His cultivation talent was normal and he did not have much status in the family. Otherwise, he would not have been sent to be the teacher for the Ling plant cultivation class. He had been a teacher of the Ling plant cultivation class for 10 whole years. But in his 10 years of teaching, he had never seen such a shocking scene. He didn't have good feelings about the students in his class. These Xianxia that lived on the lowest level of society always had exhaustion-filled faces, and were never focused. The great majority of them were rough and crude, hard to like. They were the examples of the lowest level of Xianxia in society. They were without any hint of refinement or beauty or the otherworldliness that came with cultivation. Yet, it was also this group of people sitting quietly in rapt attention. Tianzhong Zhou's mind was dazed. The students that were sitting wore serious expressions that were slightly pious. There was no exhaustion or tiredness in their expressions, their focused faces shone with another kind of light. Tianzhong Zhou looked dazedly at this group of unfamiliar students. The voice came from the end of the valley. It was not very loud but very clear. The teacher inside had seemed to predict this scene and had used a sound-amplifying talisman. The 5 elements of Ling plants have their own wonders. We are going to talk about the water element today. There are many water element spells, but does that mean that all water element spells are suited to Ling plants? No. The water element spells that are able to be used on Ling plants must have warm and nurturing effects. Today, I am going to talk of a water element spell called, Little Art of Cloud and Rain. It is not a profound spell, but for us Ling plant farmers, it is very useful. Here, I must remind everyone to not always pursue high-grade spells. High-grade spells are better than low-grade spells, but the consumption of Ling power is also higher. This is likely to cause you to land in the awkward state of not having enough Ling power when using it. After listening for a little while, Tian Zhongzhou showed shock on his face. They also taught little art of cloud and rain, but only just the most basic variations. The higher-level variations were only permitted to be taught after the student entered the Tian family. Many of the wondrous parts this person talked about were ones that even Tian Zhongzhou felt were novel. In this little while, he felt as though he had learned greatly. But he did not feel happy, but disbelieving. He did not wonder at this person's deep comprehension of spells, but rather that this person would publicly teach such exquisite content. Was this person crazy? Did he not know what he was talking about were things no sect would easily make public? If he only passed it on to a few people, no one would pay attention to him. But to publicly teach it like this, to so easily pass high-grade spells, there was only one result, offending all the sects. Why were the sects so powerful? Wasn't it because they held the great majority of resources? And spells, that was the most important kind of resource that the sects possessed. The monopoly sects had over spells was one of the foundations that they used to monopolize in reality. Due to this, in these thousands of years, all the sects and factions maintained this unusual and unspoken agreement. This guy's conduct intruded onto the profits of all the sects and factions around Suling City. He really was crazy. Tian Zhongzhou shook his head. But looking at the scene in front of him, for some unknown reason, all he felt it was pity. Chapter 457, Devious Tian Xiaowei drunkenly walked on the streets as he was returning from drinking Ling wine. Ever since 3 years ago when he tasted Ling wine for the first time, he was enchanted with the taste of Ling wine. Every time after he received his wages, he would run to Heavenly Restaurant to have a few cups. He could not afford very good Ling wine, and could only drink second-grade Ling wine. He didn't have much interest in cultivation and had been stuck on the second stratum of Zhuji for 5 or so years without any movement. The night wind blew on his face, the intoxication rose and he was dazed. Suddenly, 2 people appeared and walked towards him. Seeing him, they warmly gave their greetings, little brother Wei. Tian Xiaowei felt they were unfamiliar but he still pretended to know them and responded, "Where are you 2 going?" "Planning to go drink wine." "How about it, little brother Wei, go with us." The other was very enthusiastic. The 2 people circled him and pulled his arm. Tian Xiaowei suddenly felt slight weariness. He wanted to break free but found to his shock that his body could not move. He wanted to speak but no matter how hard he tried, his mouth could not produce any noise. His eyes revealed the terror he felt. He was pinned on both sides by the 2 and great force was applied to his arms, and forced to walk outside the city. They are seeking death. When Tian Yongqing finished hearing Tian Zhongzhou's report, he said with a smirk, "These short-sighted people are not a problem." Tian Hengbo's expression was not so good, "I spoke with Su Jingwei. He didn't say it explicitly but these people do not plan on selling Turtle Island, even trading won't work. I just want to see how they think they can oppose our Tian family. Bastards! They are shameless. Oppose our Tian family, they need to have the ability," another elder said with a smile. "Ye brothers' battalion rose 40-something ranks, that is really frightening." Speaking of this, the members of the Tian family all had smiles on their faces. Among the sound tablets of Cloud Xijia, there was a program called Battalion Review. They would regularly review and rank the famous battalions of Cloud Xijia and held great authority. The Tianyi battalion had risen quickly, and successfully entered the top 200, ranked 192. Due to this, public opinion of the Tian family's strength had also risen rapidly and they had become the second largest power in Suling City next to Suling sect. A powerful battalion was the representation of a faction's power. However, Compared to individual rankings, battalion ranks were much steadier. So when Tianyi Battalion had suddenly rose quickly, it attracted the attention of many people. The Tian family instantly felt the change in attitudes of the surrounding factions when they became the second most powerful faction of Suling City. At this time, the Turtle Island people were such an eyesore in the eyes of the Tian family. We must have Turtle Island. A cold light flashed through Tian Yongqing's eyes. This is too important for our Tian family. No matter which method we use, we need to have Turtle Island in our hands. Everyone stopped breathing to wait for his next words. The Turtle Island cultivation classes has almost forced all other cultivation classes out of business. Ha, an outsider has stolen everyone's business, this is not allowed on the business market. Investigate which families have been damaged the most. We need to let the outsider see our power. Humph, an outsider, what waves do they think they can make? Tian Yongqing smiled coldly. Ma Fan carefully laid his stomach against the ground, the presence of his body was concealed. He didn't dare to even breathe. He was memorizing the surrounding geography and formations. No one would have expected for him to hide here for 3 whole days. In these 3 days, he became very familiar with this area. This was a storehouse for the Tian family. Just as Suomo's cultivation classes were gaining popularity, he had secretly started an investigation of the Tian family. Ma Fan and the others had been there when Darren had been ambushed last time and felt great responsibility. After that, Ma Fan and the others received a mission to secretly investigate the Tian family. Xu Long had given them a jade scroll with a variety of concealment and scouting techniques. This was like giving wings to the tigers, the seasoned veterans of Sky Peak Platoon. They quickly collected information and determined the general situation of the Tian family. Want to play in the dark, let's see who is more devious. Ma Fan muttered inside, he didn't know who was directing the mission this time. In the beginning, everyone thought it was Lil Miss, but they quickly found the style was completely different. Lil Miss was good at being a battle general, but scheming like this from the shadows was not something Lil Miss could play with. Was it Darren? But it didn't seem like it. Darren was sometimes wretched, but he liked being straightforward much more. Then who was it? Such an evil plan, even an old-timer like Ma Fan couldn't help but feel his scalp prickle when he carried it out. Devious. It was truly too devious. Ma Fan refocused. His gaze landed on the storehouse opposite him and paused to calculate the time. After a while, the door to the storehouse opened and 2 Xiozha laughed and chatted as they walked out. When these people were far away, Ma Fan suddenly moved. Like an arrow, Ma Fan flew out against the ground. Beside him, his fellows moved at the same time. Having scouted the warehouse for the last several days, Ma Fan and the others knew that no one would guard the storehouse at this time. Charging to a place about 10 zhang from the storehouse, the procession suddenly stopped. Then Ma Fan took out a jade medal and hung it on his waist. The formation lit up, and so did the jade medal on Ma Fan's waist. The doors to the storehouse opened. The interior of the storehouse entered their eyes. Mountains of ling plant farming talismans that were so numerous Ma Fan and the others inhaled sharply. They knew that the Tian family were renewing a batch of ling plant farming talismans soon, but when they saw the talismans with their own eyes, they couldn't help but feel shocked at the great power of the Tian family. There were tens of thousands of ling plant farming talismans. Even though these were only second-grade low-level talismans, when this many were piled up, it was still shocking to see. However, other than this batch of talismans, there were pitifully few other items in the storehouse. Ma Fan and the others did not hesitate. They all took out little jade bottles and then poured it onto the pile of ling plant farming talismans. Several drops of multicolored medicinal fluid were dripped onto this pile of talismans. Several balls of thin rainbow mist silently expanded, gradually dispersing until they were invisible. Ma Fan and the others put away the jade bottles, and then took away the most valuable items. The storehouse instantly became a mess. After finishing this, the group quickly disappeared. What? Tian Hengbo was furious. Like a ferocious man-eating tiger, he stared at the storekeepers who had their heads bowed. The storekeepers all shook with ashen faces. Nice. All of you. Tian Hengbo said darkly. People walked right in and took everything. 16 storehouses, a whole 16 storehouses were robbed. If people didn't know, they would think our Tian family was a charity. You parcel of pigs. Tian Yongqing's expression was also ugly. He had never thought that people would dare to rob the Tian family's storehouses. And to rob 16 of them in one go. Suppressing the fire in his heart, Tian Yongqing asked in a dark voice, "What happened? Speak in detail." The storekeepers took turns to explain. The more he heard, the colder Tian Yongqing's heart was. The Tian family had 16 storehouses in Suling City and they were all robbed at the same time. This showed that the other wasn't just very familiar with the Tian family, they were also very powerful. In order to rob 16 storehouses at the same time, they needed a significant number of Xianxia to act at the same time. He also learned from these storekeepers that none of them had detected it and only discovered the theft after the fact. This caused Tian Yongqing to feel cold. Tian Yongqing asked about some of the details but still could not make any heads or tails of it. The other had not left any traces behind. 16 storehouses robbed, the Tian family had suffered heavy losses. Other than the low-grade Ling plant farming talismans that had not been moved, any other talismans that were worth something had been taken away. These storehouses had held vast amounts of the Ling plants and grains that the Tian family had produced. Even though they were not valuable or rare specimens, but the amount was so large the loss was great. In a rough estimate, the Tian family's losses this time was valued at minimum 10 pieces of 5th-grade Jingxia. Motherfucker. If ye find out who did it, see if ye won't skin them. Tian Hengbo gritted out. Tian Yongqing also felt pain. The losses they suffered this time was definitely the most serious losses of the past years. In the past, these storehouses had not held valuable items so they had not put great attention on them. Additionally, Suling City's security had always been good and nothing like this had happened before. Send someone to investigate secretly who is selling large amounts of Ling grasses and grains recently. Tian Yongqing resumed his calm. These things are not Jingxia and it is such a large amount, the sale of it is not easy to conceal. Don't search in just our Suling City, send people to look at the surrounding cities. Tian Hengbo's eyes lit up. Big brother is right. 16 storehouses worth of Ling plants and grains is not so easy to sell off. Do not announce it if you find them. Tian Yongqing's voice was dark. It is not so easy to swallow our Tian family's things. Tian Hengbo ran off with the orders. Tian Yongqing looked at the storekeepers and his expression returned to indifference. Do not lose the remaining Ling plant farming talismans. The sowing season will start soon and these talismans will be used. If something else happens, I do not need to state the result. The storekeepers had white faces and nodded frantically. Tian Yongqing knew the strength of the storekeepers would not be enough so he picked up a pen and wrote on the paper. Putting down the pen, his right hand lightly rubbed and the paper became a paper crane that flew up and disappeared quickly. There will soon be people coming to help you guard the storehouses, Tian Yongqing said as he raised his head. Move the talismans in the stores back to the family base. Pass this order down and do not delay this. Yes, yes, yes. The storekeepers hurriedly nodded. The good fortune among the misfortune, the other had disregarded the Ling plant farming talismans. Otherwise, it would really be troublesome. It had taken them some effort to buy these Ling plant farming talismans. The seed sowing was going to start in a few days, and if these Ling plant farming talismans had been stolen, it would be very hard to buy such a number of Ling plant farming talismans so quickly. Thinking about recent events, Tian Yongqing's head started to hurt. Before one wave ended, another began. Chapter 458, Action, You Went Out Robbing? Xuemo looked at the little mountain of Ling plants and grains and felt dizzy. Rob? Pu Yao snorted. Is just this little bit of stuff is worth robbing? Xuemo might have had some wealth before, but when had he ever seen so much Ling grasses and grains? His eyes were bright as he walked around the little mountain, his lips trembling. How much jingsher would this be? Pu Yao was speechless. He suddenly found this slightly embarrassing. His student, the student of an honored Sky Yao, was like this. Just this little bit was enough to make the other speechless, so embarrassing. It was very embarrassing. If people knew that his student was so weak. Even Pu Yao, who had skin as thick as city walls, felt his face burn. From the Tian family? Xuemo's reaction was not slow. He suddenly looked with enthusiasm at Pu Yao. Let's go on a trip again. Amidst Wei's roaring laughter, Pu Yao turned and left with a black face. Having gotten a great sum of wealth, Xuemo felt very good and was not angry. The direction of the cultivation classes was also very good, each cultivation class growing from 50 people per class to 200. Adding on that the classes overflowed with students who listened, they were so popular that even Xuemo found it hard to believe. What caused Xuemo to feel a headache was that the number was still growing at a rapid rate, but the number of teachers was limited. Qing Shidi had come over to complain to him multiple times that his normal cultivation and livestock raising was affected by the high numbers. There was only Qing Shidi for the animal husbandry classes, and for sword cultivation, no one could help with Xia Shan and eldest Xixiang's classes. The same was true for Zhong Ru and Yi Zheng's cultivation class, as they were the only two Diana Xiu on the island. It was also the same for his Ling plant farming class, there was only him. Seeing so many pleading in hunger, oh no, so many jingsher that was lining up outside the door but could not enter his wallet, that feeling really wasn't good. What to do? Xuemo rubbed his chin and started to think. The shocking amount of Ling grasses and grains caused all of Golden Crow Camp to turn out in smiles. Nothing was liked more by the Golden Crow group other than a large supply of raw materials. Most of them were skilled in forging and were not experts in dam making or cooking, but so what? Each of them had Golden Crow fire, and there were jade scrolls among their collection. As long as they had the materials, they could naturally practice their skills. Even more, although their fire manipulation techniques could not be said to be masterful, they were still very practiced. Many people were interested in learning another processing method. Xuemo did not care about their failures since they had gotten these things for free. Also, if even half of these Ling grasses could be processed in Ling Dan, then the profit would also be astounding. However, not everyone was happy. The two masters Sun Bao and Ji Wei had furrowed their brows at this moment. Compared to the heartless joy of the young people, the two of them had more pressure. They knew the state of the island very well. That day, when Darren gathered everyone together to discuss how to make jingsher, they understood their precarious state. In order to use the abundant Ling fields on the island, that required Ling plant farming talismans. Plant farming talismans were not difficult to make, and the two masters were familiar with the talismans on the market. But if what was used were the Ling plant farming talismans from the market, the Ling fields on the island would not be completely used. There was only one way if they wanted to use all the Ling fields on the island. That was to forge enough outstanding Ling plant farming talismans, to forge talismans that could replace Ling plant farmers. In simple words, the two masters looked down on the Ling plant farming talismans on the market. After 20 more days, these MO weapons will gradually take form, Shu Long's steady voice echoed in the cave. The cave they had dug was not large. Presently, all of guard camp had moved into this deep cave called the Yin Spirit Cave. This cave was extremely heavy with Yin energy which became denser the deeper they dug, and was very beneficial for the cultivation of Shu Long and the others. Owen looked eagerly at the MO weapons floating in the pool and asked, Long Ge, do you think that the power of the MO weapons is really that great? Wouldn't you know when it is time? Shu Long said with a smile. He was very soft towards Owen. Darren really bled this time. Owen said in shock, just the materials cost 10 pieces of 5th grade jingsha. It's amazing. The surface of the inky black pool did not ripple, and if one smelled from a distance, there was the scent of medicine. This was a pool that Shu Long had set up according to the directions of the mysterious Darren. As to the effects, he did not have any confidence. When he thought about the jingsha that passed through his hands, he felt a thread of warmth. He was no longer that Shio slave that didn't understand the value of jingsha any longer. 10 pieces of 5th grade jingsha, if that was used to buy Shio slaves, it would be a vast number. Darren was really good to everyone. Thinking about this and the present guard camp, he felt a thread of guilt. Of the entire guard camp, other than he and one who could be considered experts, all others were just average. Compared to Vermilion Bird Camp, this result was not very good. To say nothing of the two Jindan, Xia Shan and Zhong Ru, even Ma Fan, Nian Lu, and Lei Peng were just a step away from Jindan. He definitely had to train this group well. And not waste Darren's efforts. As he paced, Shu Long made the decision. He quickly came to the deepest part of the cave. What entered his eyes was a busy scene. He could occasionally see sparks flying and crisp sounds ringing out. What is the problem? Shu Long asked a hardship guard. The hardship guard showed a grimace. It is too hard. The deeper we go, the harder it gets. I've dug for half a day, and just gotten a little piece out, there's not much progress. Hearing this, Shu Long went forward and punched the stone. He heard a muffled sound and fine cracks appeared around his fist while a few fragments fell. He wiped away the fragments and saw there was a shallow pit on the rock. So hard. Shu Long was shocked. With the power of his punch, he was only able to make such a small indentation. He picked up a piece of fragmented rock and grasped it in his hand. He had an expression of realization. The rock had been immersed in this thick Yin energy for tens of thousands of years, and was as hard as steel. Gripping it, he could clearly feel the pure Yin energy contained inside. Everyone, work harder. This is a good place. When we dig out a bigger cave, everyone can live here for the long term. This place is suited for our cultivation. Shu Long motivated everyone. Another hardship guard said, if you are speaking about cultivation, digging this stuff is the best cultivation. Shu Long's mind moved. The others talked and laughed. Ha! That's right. I've dug for a few days, and felt I've improved greatly. I assumed that only I had had that feeling. So everyone feels it. That's nothing strange. The rock is this hard, if we do not use killing essence, we can't dig. This isn't digging a hole, this is fighting. Hearing this, Shu Long suddenly realized this was a clever way. Having been bothered that he did not have any ways of helping everyone cultivate, Shu Long's eyes instantly lit up. Lu Wei was very happy. He had actually made a breakthrough on his fire spell soon after registering for his class. He had studied this fire spell for 3 years and progressed quickly until half a year ago when he could not enter a higher level no matter how hard he practiced. Due to this, he had registered for many classes but there was no effect until he had gone to the present class. Just a few of the teacher's words had made him feel his vision broadened. After listening for 5 days, he smoothly broke through to the 4th level of the fire spell. This teacher was really good. The teacher looked younger than Lu Wei, and he hadn't expected the teacher to be so strong. It wasn't just him, all the students admired the teacher. The fire spell he cultivated was second grade, but now that he cultivated it to the 4th level, the value was instantly different. An even better job was waving its hands at him. Thinking about how his monthly wages would double in the future, Lu Wei was very happy. He excitedly ran to a Ling materials shop. This shop always was hiring year-round. Second grade 4th level was enough for him to enter the Ling grass room and become a Ling grass fire worker to work in Ling grass. Compared to his Dan fire labor in the past, it would be much easier and the wages higher. Hearing he was coming to apply as a Ling grass fire worker, the shopkeeper instantly came out. These days, it was hard to find a good Ling grass fire worker. The shopkeeper first got him to show his fire spell and was very satisfied with his second grade 4th level strength. Just as Lu Wei thought the shopkeeper would agree, the shopkeeper suddenly seemed to remember something and asked him, "Where do you attend cultivation class?" "Copper Alley, the Ling plant farming cultivation class of Turtle Island," Lu Wei said with slight pride. "I was part of the first batch." Right now, everyone coveted the spots in the Turtle Island cultivation classes to an astonishing degree. Even though Turtle Island cultivation classes were generous and did not stop them from listening from outside the class, it was not possible to see the displays of the teacher and the effects of the lessons naturally decreased. So what was occurring was that it was hard to buy a Turtle Island cultivation class spot with 1,000 jingxia. "Sorry, we do not hire the students from Turtle Island cultivation class," the storekeeper politely gave the order to leave. Lu Wei instantly was dumbstruck. "Why don't you hire students from Turtle Island cultivation class?" The shopkeeper looked at him and said, "We do not accept you, you can try at other places." Finishing, the shopkeeper disregarded him and went back inside. Feeling very angry, Lu Wei went to another store. What he had not expected was that this store also did not accept students from Turtle Island cultivation class. Lu Wei did not believe his bad luck. He went to 8 shops and none of them accepted students from Turtle Island cultivation class. Lu Wei felt hopeless. In the afternoon, the news that all shops of Su Ling City refused to hire those from Turtle Island cultivation class spread through Su Ling City. Chapter 459 Counterattack Reality was stronger than the fortitude of most people. When all the businesses in Su Ling City gathered together to restrict students of Turtle Island cultivation classes, the attendance rates were heavily affected. Anyone that was intelligent and could see what was going on. Some students were not afraid and did not care. So what if they could not find a job in Su Ling City? They could travel to other cities. As long as they cultivated good spells, where couldn't they find a job? But not every student had such courage and not every person was willing to run to an unfamiliar city and start a new life. The number of people in Turtle Island cultivation class had instantly lessened. Having been contemplating on how to expand the classes, Zhua Mo was dumbstruck. It had just been a few days, how come it was like this? He hurriedly sent Shang Wei Ming to investigate. The businesses thought they were extremely strong and did not disguise anything. Shang Wei Ming quickly came back with news. When Zuomo learned it was the Tian family again, he instantly became angry. "We haven't even settled the ambush last time, and you come to challenge us again. How can this be tolerated?" Zuomo had planned on letting Pu Yao torment the Tian family, but now he rolled up his sleeves and decided to act himself. Zuomo was clueless and couldn't think of good ways to make money, but if he was thinking about doing devious things, Zuomo seemed to be shot up with adrenaline and instantly became excited. Gu really isn't a good person. Zuomo sighed emotionally and then threw himself into the grand matter of exacting vengeance on the Tian family. But upon reflection, Zuomo felt this was not something bad. With their manpower, expansion of the classes was akin to seeking death. The cultivation classes were much quieter than before, but that was only when compared with the explosive increase in attendance. There were many Xiuzha who did not worry about being blocked out and they were overjoyed at having the free spots in class. Even more importantly, the excited Zhua Mo thought of a wondrous idea. Is there something you need? The person receiving Zhuo was a middle-aged man. Oh, I want to discuss a partnership with your sect, Zhuo said. Partnership? The middle-aged male's eyes lit up. Business. Earth Sound Sect was a small sect. Their most famous product was the large sound tablet formation that could broadcast across the entire city. The male at the front of the store was their sect leader, Yin Zi. If Yin Zi was not clever and creative, the Earth Sound Sect would have died out long ago. Through his efforts, the sound tablet program, Earth Sound, was produced in an interesting manner, and had a broad audience in Suling City. But their present days were not easy. The popularity of their Earth Sound program was slowly declining. This caused a great headache for him, but he did not have many solutions. Suling City was still a small place, Earth Sound Sect was also a small sect. He could create higher-grade sound tablet formations, but he could not afford it. Also, the expenditure of higher-grade sound tablet formations was also astounding. Yin Zi instantly became warm and had a smile on his face. Please come in, please come in. Zhuo's group walked into Earth Sound Sect, and Yin Zi carefully took out his last bits of Ling tea and brewed it. After sitting down and taking a sip of Ling tea, Zhuo stated his intentions. I have come this time in the hope we can use the Earth Sound program your sect broadcasts to advertise the products of our island. No problem, no problem. Yin Zi was overjoyed and still asked out of caution, what cloud island is your island? Zhuo smiled. We are Turtle Island. Turtle Island. Yin Zi's expression changed dramatically and thoughts of refusal rose. How could he not know the conflict between Turtle Island and the Tian family? The Tian family was the second largest faction in Suling City, ranked under Suling Sect. The depth of its foundation was far bigger than an outsider like Turtle Island. If they offended the Tian family, a little sect like Earth Sound Sect's days would be at an end. What? Your sect will not accept this business. Zhuo smiled thinly at Yin Zi. Yin Zi hadn't spoke when he saw Zhuo casually put something on the table. When he saw what it was, Yin Zi's eyes could not move away. 10 pieces of 4th-grade Jingxia. Yin Zi's eyes instantly became heated as he stared at the 10 pieces of 4th-grade Jingxia on the table. For Earth Sound Sect, 10 pieces of 4th-grade Jingxia was about half of their annual income. Yin Zi knew his sect was in dire straits. It was to the point they were almost destitute, and could barely afford to buy food. If they could not create more revenue, they wouldn't even have the Jingxia to maintain the large sound tablet formation. Zhuo heard the sound of Yin Zi swallowing. Without a second word, he took out another 10 pieces of 4th-grade Jingxia. Yin Zi's breathing became heavy, his eyes instantly filled with blood and his expression slightly vicious. 20 pieces of 4th-grade Jingxia. This will be the 30% deposit. Zhuo's words were like a fatal dagger that easily pierced Yin Zi's wavering defenses. Yin Zi felt his mind suddenly become blank. He leapt at the Jingxia. What Tian family? They can go to hell. Zhu Zheng's mood was strange, he had a particular sense of ennui. His workmates watched him, each gleeful at his misfortune. Just a few days ago, all of them looked at him with completely different gazes. As one of the members of the first batch of students in the Turtle Island cultivation classes, he had had shockingly good luck. When the spot for a cultivation class was being auctioned off at sky-high prices on the black market. While others could only sit in the alleys and listen, he was sitting in the hall and listening to Teacher Cheng's husbandry class. That was really a great happiness. Yet what he had never expected was the shopkeeper had quickly found him and told him if he continued to attend the Turtle Island cultivation class, he would be fired. Helpless, he could only leave the cultivation class to keep his work. The admiring and jealous gazes of the surrounding people instantly became gleeful. Yet what Zhu Zheng had not expected was that the spells and formations that Teacher Cheng spoke about in class would unconsciously creep into his thoughts. Zhu Zhen had attended many cultivation classes before, and Teacher Cheng's skill would be ranked first. He held admiration for Teacher Cheng. Just those high-level spells that Teacher Cheng spoke about casually filled him with motivation. He seemed to be daydreaming constantly these days and was inattentive with his work. The shopkeeper had scolded him many times over this. Why was it like this? Zhu Zhen really felt bad inside. He felt that the Turtle Island cultivation class was very good. Life had returned to normal. Zhu Zhen knew that the dissatisfaction in his heart would dissipate with time and be worn down. Everyone worked in the same place, and due to the work being repetitive and boring, they would have a sound tablet to listen to when they worked. The shopkeeper had seen that it did not distract them, so he had not forbidden it. Suddenly, the content broadcasted by the sound tablet caused Zhu Zhen to stop what he was doing. Due to too many students being unable to enter our island's cultivation class, we feel great regret and also blame ourselves. Teaching spells is the duty of every one of us shoujo. Due to this, we have now produced the Turtle series Jade Scrolls, topic ranging from ling plants to animal husbandry, from sword shio to Diana shio. We have made many kinds of detailed and informative Jade Scrolls. We hope that the students that are unable to attend our cultivation classes due to various reasons can cultivate by themselves through the Jade Scrolls. Everyone couldn't help but stop what they were doing and listen closely. Zhu Zhen's eyes slowly became bright. Everyone thought that Turtle Island could do nothing when facing such a powerful alliance of local powers, and could only retreat. It was unexpected that Turtle Island's counterattack was so quick, so sharp, and so precise. Su Ling City that had just quieted down, but now exploded like a bomb had been set off. The sound tablet advertised the Turtle Island Jade Scroll series all day. The provocative shouts seemed to throw hot oil onto Su Ling City. What? You did not hear it wrong. 998, only 998. Not 9,998, or 1,998. 998. 998. Just 998. You can move the Turtle Island Jade Scrolls series to your home. This is a special promotion intended to repay students for supporting our Turtle Island cultivation classes. 998 pieces of 3rd grade Jingshi, the entire set of Turtle Island Jade Scroll series. What we are looking at now is the Fire Spells Jade Scroll of the Turtle Island series. This Jade Scroll introduces 5 kinds of commonly seen 2nd grade fire spells, and has detailed instructions on every level. The price is 1 piece of 3rd grade Jingshi. Without a doubt, this is definitely the spell Jade Scroll with the best value for your money this year. What? You think that 2nd grade fire spells are too low grade? No problem, here is a 3rd grade fire spell Jade Scroll. Heavens, you have not heard it wrong. 3rd grade fire spell. Everyone is clear what the price on the market is for this, but for just 100 pieces of 3rd grade Jingshi and you can possess this Turtle Island Jade Scroll series, made personally by the masters of the Turtle Island, works that cannot be surpassed. Turtle Island Fundamental Spell Commentary, the best commentary Jade Scroll to learn cultivation on your own. One of the most detailed basic spell commentaries on the market. What should you do when you encounter a problem? Don't be afraid. We have the Turtle Island Fundamental Spell Commentary. It will list all kinds of problems you may encounter. It is an example of, with 1 scroll in hand, the world in hand, Su Ling City exploded. Completely exploded. No matter what conflict existed between Turtle Island and the business of Su Ling City, these students only needed what could help them actually learn. The effects of the Turtle Island cultivation classes had reached a mythical level, and the students that had personally experienced it were extremely confident. Any shoujo with any ambition would always hope they could learn higher-level spells. When the businesses used the power of an alliance to stop them from attending the Turtle Island cultivation classes, they were angry inside. The perceptive ones knew this was Turtle Island's counterattack. "Yeah, so you won't hire the students of Turtle Island cultivation class, then I will directly sell jade scrolls. You can't check for this. How can you detect where one learned these low-grade spells from? Many cultivation classes teach the same spells." The advertising seemed to bombard them without exhaustion. No business would sell them, no problem. The sword Xiao that could be seen everywhere on the street wearing 4th grade cold soul blue light armor were selling them. 2,000 sword Xiao in full armor turned to streams that filled almost every corner of Su Ling City. They stepped on their sword lights as they murderously passed by every business as though they did not exist. Beside them were buckets of jade scrolls piled up like lettuce. The businesses shuddered and no one dared to make a sound. Arrogant. Too arrogant. Domineering. Too domineering. Chapter 460, Experts, They Dare to Be So Arrogant. Tian Yongqing's gaze was dark. He definitely had not expected this group to be so reckless and heedless. Were they unafraid of offending the other powers in Su Ling City? They did not fear they would earn the displeasure of Su Ling's sect. Were they showing off their martial power? Yes. They were showing off their martial power. 2,000 sword Xiao entering the city to sell jade scrolls, what was that if not showing off? Tian Hengbo was so angry his face was almost twisted together. Tian Yongqing felt as though he had swallowed a fly. He found to his shock that he didn't have any good solutions. Turtle Island dared to send 2,000 sword Xiao but he did not dare. He believed with Tian Yi Battalion's power, they could take care of these 2,000 sword Xiao blink of an eye. But he did not dare to do so. If this kind of large-scale conflict happened in Su Ling City, that was a challenge to Su Ling sect. The Tian family might be the second most powerful faction in Su Ling City, but if they had to fight against Su Ling sect, Tian Yongqing did not have any confidence in their chances. If it was not a life or death situation, the Tian family definitely would not dare to provoke Su Ling sect. But if he allowed the other to keep going, wasn't that another way of admitting that his side was not as good as the other? This caused Tian Yongqing and the others to feel uncomfortable, even the business that were in alliance with the Tian family felt uncomfortable. The common saying was that the strong dragon could not suppress the local snakehead, but they, the local snakeheads, had no way of dealing with this group. This was an embarrassment. Everyone had to stay and live in Su Ling City in the future. Where could they show their faces? Brother Tian, you have to think of a solution. These outsiders are so arrogant, they do not even acknowledge us. How dare they? How dare they? We definitely cannot accept this, the owner of a shop couldn't resist but say furiously. His words instantly caused a chorus of agreement. Yes. How can we let these outside step over our heads? If word spread, we would be ashamed to see other people. Too arrogant. If we don't teach them a lesson, they don't know how high the sky is, how thick the earth is. Ha, if I had a say, this kind of people just need a beating. Listening to everyone talk, a hint of darkness flashed through Tian Yongqing's eyes before his expression quickly became normal. He scanned the room with a smile, looking at the people and slowly said, "Bosses, you are right. Then what good ideas do you have so everyone can plan together?" Plan what? A fiery-tempered owner opened, didn't they want to have a cultivation class? We go find some experts to sort them out, and I want to see if they still have the face to open a cultivation class. This idea is good my ass, another boss said unconcernedly. Last time, Gu Xiang Tian, Qing Su Daoren, and other people worked together, what was the result? Gu Xiang Tian's dead, and Qing Su Doran's 1,000-gem illusory disc was defeated. We don't even know where he fled to. Yes, a boss agreed. That high-end sword essence cultivation class, you know that one. The sword Xiao there is very powerful. The sword essence he released that day was frightening. I know a Jindan sword Xiao who told to me to never provoke this person under any circumstance. These words caused everyone to start hesitating. Tian Yongqing's face gradually darkened, especially when he heard the matter of Gu Xiang Tian being killed and Qing Su Daoren running away. The fire in his chest shot up. At the side, Tian Hengbo was going to react but he shook his head, a signal to the other not to act. Just as everyone was clueless about what to do, Tian Yongqing smiled slightly and said slowly, "This matter, it is difficult but easy." Everyone's attention was instantly attracted. "What solution does Brother Tian have?" a boss asked. Tian Yongqing did not hide it. "Actually, in terms of power, Turtle Island is not worth so many of us working together. To say of nothing else, just my Tian family is enough to destroy it." Tian Yongqing's tone was faint but the domineering presence showed. Every person's hearts shook simultaneously. Their expressions landed in Tian Yongqing's eyes. Tian Yongqing smiled coldly on the inside but did not show it. "However, this Su Ling city is the place everyone does business, fighting and killing is not good. It is a pity that the other does not accept our goodwill. Turtle Island probably thinks that they are strong and we are afraid of them." When he spoke of this, everyone's expressions eased and they nodded. "Yes. Aren't they in need of a beating?" a boss inserted. Tian Yongqing ignored the person who interrupted and continued, "This group does have several experts. Jindan, that sword Xiao called Wei that boss Su just mentioned isn't low in skill." Speaking to this point, Tian Yongqing suddenly raised his volume, but everyone became alert. They knew that the meat had come. "We're just going to watch as they rampage on our territory. Behave without regard." "Expert?" Tian Yongqing said in a disinterested tone, "So what if they are experts? I've never heard of an expert this arrogant. Also, they have experts, do we not have any? Which of the bosses here do not have one or two experts? When did it become that our Su Ling city is ruled by a few Jindan?" These words struck the hearts of the bosses. Yes, so what if they had experts? If it was a dragon, you still had to coil up for us. So many experts, but all of them had been docile when they came to Su Ling city. Killing God Yi Ning Yi, 32nd on the expert ranking of Cloud Xijia, Seal Immortal Gu Ming Gong, 56 on the expert ranking of Cloud Xijia, Eastern Cloud Buddha, Yuan Xian, 60 on the expert ranking of Cloud Xijia. When they saw this list, everyone became excited. With such a team, not just a little Turtle Island, even Tian Yongqing couldn't help but feel wary. Unless the old master could successfully break through, otherwise, the Tian family could not gather enough experts to rival this team. The only thing they could do was use the battalion to drag them down. Ha! I don't believe we can't kill them this time. This team is too strong. Are we overdoing it? A bit, but they are unlucky to have encountered us. Ha! We need to show them some power. Fighting against us, isn't that seeking death? The bosses roared with laughter and felt good about their plan. Their depressed mood of the past few days was swept away. Thinking about the scene in the future, they felt extremely excited. Seeing the scene in front of him, Tian Yongqing's heart suddenly moved. He said, "No one has seen such a grand modus operandi before. Never. Never. Other than us, who can be so grand," the people said to each other. "If this matter succeeds, our Su Ling city is going to be famous. Everyone is going to be famous. Who is more charismatic than us? Who has more skill than us? Who is more powerful than us? Which one in the top 100 of the expert ranking doesn't have their eyes in the sky and is revered by many people? But so what? We need to smash them down with Jingshi." Tian Yongqing's voice was provocative as he waved his arms with an excited expression. The other people also became excited. Yes. Who would make such a grand move? So what if they were experts on the expert ranking? They could be smashed down with Jingshi. In this instantly, a feeling of grandness rose in every person seated here. They did not think highly of the people from Turtle Island. In front of such a team, Turtle Island was like a little insect. Just one little finger was enough to crush it. Turtle Island, what was that? Chapter 461, The world appended scenes of laughter and chatting was seen everywhere on Turtle Island. When the people spoke about what they did this time, all of them were excited, and they were especially satisfied when they thought about the fearful and timid gazes of those business people. Ha, you guys don't know. When those people look at me, it was like they are looking at an ogre. Lei Peng was proud as he motioned with both hands. You look like a ogre. Nian Lu added in a small voice. Everyone burst out in laughter, including Lei Peng himself. In the big hall, Zhua Mo and the others were gathered together with bright eyes. Waiting for Bao Yi to finish calculating, Zhua Mo couldn't resist asking, how much did we sell? The smile on Bao Yi's face was like a chrysanthemum flower blooming, but no one felt it wretched right now. Instead they looked at it with anticipation. Bao Yi's voice trembled slightly. 60 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi. Zhuo Mo's grin almost reached his ears. 60 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi, that really was a great sum of Jingshi. That amount surpassed the total amount of Jingshi Zhuo Mo had at before. In just a few days, the amount in his pocket had doubled. This was definitely a great harvest. Everyone had joyful smiles. 60 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi, that was enough to buy a 5th grade talisman. Everyone might have a golden crystal sword each, but they didn't have much Jingshi. Especially for a Jindan like Xia Shan, whose other talismans were lacking except for his 5th grade golden crystal sword. The blue soul cold light armor and the rest were slightly on the low end for a Jindan, like Xia Shan. Bao Yi's face was flushed red. He had to use all his strength to make his voice steady. It is 600 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi. All of the laughter instantly disappeared. Zhuo Mo's eyes were round. 600 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi. An entire set of Turtle Island Jade Scrolls was 998 3rd grade Jingshi, or about 2 pieces of 4th grade Jingshi. 600 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi was 600,000 pieces of 4th grade Jingshi. In this short time period, they had sold 300,000 sets of Turtle Island Jade Scrolls. Everyone was shocked speechless by this enormous number. Bao Yi resumed his normal composure at this time. In this rush, there have been stores from nearby cities that have come to use to purchase the Jade Scrolls. Our Jade Scrolls have sold like crazy in this area. Bright Light City, Sea Light City, Cloud Light City, their shops are not influenced by the people from Su Ling City. They have Bao huge numbers. We have spent great effort, all of Vermilion Bird Camp putting down their work to forge Jade Scrolls in order to fulfill their demands. In the silence, Bao Yi's voice was the only one. However, our revenue is slowly decreasing. The little Jinji we put on our Jade Scrolls have been deconstructed and knockoffs have appeared on the market. This has greatly affected our revenue. Bao Yi was full of regret. But everyone was still immersed in the great shock of 600 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi. No one spoke. 600 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi. Zhuo Mo felt blank. Selling Jade Scrolls was just something he did to oppose the Tian family and just to annoy them. Getting Vermilion Bird Camp to sell Jade Scrolls was because there were no shops that were willing to sell his Jade Scrolls. He had used this group of extremely bored people as free labor. What a world this was. One could make 600 Jingshi like this. When was Jingshi so easy to make? This was a whole 600 pieces of 5th grade Jingshi. Zhuo Mo felt his world was upended. Yet what he had not expected was that it wasn't just this matter that upended the world for him. Zhuo Mo looked curiously at the completely transformed Ling fields. Beside him, the Ling plant farmers of the island were also looking around curiously. The masters Ji Wei and Sun Bao were explaining the changes in detail. These Ling fields have been completely modified to become formation Ling fields. According to the attributes of the Ling plants, we have designed new formations. Each section of Ling fields has a cloud rain formation, and the core of the formation is a piece of 4th grade water soul crystal. It can release the little art of cloud and rain to the equivalent of the 5th level. If one wants to release little art of cloud and rain to a higher level, it requires a higher grade water soul crystal. Following Master Sun Bao's finger, Zhuo Mo saw threads of white mist appear above the Ling field. The white mist quickly formed a ball of clouds and silver-threaded rain fell onto every corner of the Ling field. Even from far away, Zhuo Mo could sense the thick vitality in these raindrops. His eyes lit up. This is good. At his side, more than 20 Ling plant farmers gaped with disbelief on their faces. This was the first time they saw a formation that could cast little art of cloud and rain. Their Ling plant farming skill was not high, but even they could feel the threads of rain were truly little art of cloud and rain. There were clear differences between Ling plant farming water spells and normal water spells. Normal Xiuzha might be unable to detect it, but Ling plant farmers definitely could. Su Bao's face held no pride. He continued to introduce, the cloud rain formation is the simplest formation and it was the first one we solved. We then resolved the earth formation. According to the earth granary spell, that summer flower Ling plant farmers frequently use, we designed a earth granary formation. At the center of the formation is a piece of 4th grade brown spotted rock. It later proved to have a great effect and is very good at gathering earth energy. It can reach the skill of the 4th level of earth granary spell. But we do not have a lot of brown spotted rock, so Darren will need to buy a batch. Zhuo Mo's joy grew. Water and earth spells were the ones most often used on normal Ling field. Since these two spells were solved, that meant that Ling grasses and grains had the support for basic growth. Wood spells could accelerate the growth of Ling grasses and grains, while gold spells was mostly used to exterminate insects and disease. Fire spells could gather the essence of the sun and also accelerated growth. But the core spells were the water and earth spells. In other words, it was possible to plant Ling grains and grasses on this section of Ling field. Removing the need to cast the water and earth spells, each Ling plant farmer could now take care of 500 mu of Ling fields and increase 100 mu. The amount of usable Ling fields on the island could be multiplied by 5. To Zhuo Mo, this was definitely good news. However, the surprise is that the two masters gave Zhuo Mo didn't end here. Master Ji Wei continued, for the wood spell, we used the Ling essence wood attracting spell. This spell is relatively complex, so not many Ling plant farmers use it, but there is no problem if we use a formation. Also, while the Ling essence wood attracting formation is complex, it does not use a lot of Jingshi. As for the fire spells, it was not difficult. Darren's Golden Crow fire formation is appropriate, but it is too strong. We weakened it by merging it with the Glimmer formation to form a new kind of formation that we have called Golden Crow Glimmer formation. It is not as powerful, but it is gentle and much more appropriate to use on Ling plants. At this moment, the cloud and rain dissipated, the mist above the Ling field disappearing. Threads of golden energy came from the sky and scattered among the Ling fields. In a blink, a faint layer of golden light covered the Ling grains in the field and looked very ethereal. Zhuo Mo and the others were stunned by the beautiful scenery and unconsciously stopped their breathing. The two masters Ji Wei and Sun Bao were unaffected by the beautiful scenery. They had seen this scene repetitively during development, and didn't even bat an eyelid, continuing, if we have to say which spell was the most difficult, it is the gold spell. Gold spell? Zhuo Mo reflexively asked. He quickly reacted and couldn't help but frown. Yes, of the Ling plant 5 elements, gold was for killing and it demanded the highest control of Ling power and consciousness. Ling plant farmers mostly had gentle personalities and naturally had less of killing energies. This was also why the number of Ling plant farmers skilled in gold spells was pitifully few. We recalled something Darren once said, Ji Wei said. What did I say? Sui Mo was clueless. Darren once said Ling planting gold spells are like sword shio, they are used for killing, Ji Wei explained. Sui Mo recalled and nodded. I did say it. He then asked curious, and then, how did you solve it? Truthfully, he was really frightened today. Sun Bao and Ji Wei's designs were full of creativity and showed him a completely new path. Sui Mo was not a short-sighted person and he was clear of the deep meaning contained in these formations. The two masters had been very clever in managing the previous 4 kinds of spells and this made Sui Mo very curious as to how they had taken care of the difficult gold spell. We thought that since they are very similar to Sword Shio, why don't we use Sword Shio directly? Ji Wei asked in response. Sui Mo stilled. Use Sword Shio directly. Yes, use Sword Shio directly. We have a lot of Sword Shio and many who have comprehended Sword Essence. If we can use all of them, can't we solve a great part of the problem of lacking Ling plant farmers? Ji Wei showed excitement. Ling plant farmers can kill those pests, so why can't Sword Shio? We especially asked Teacher Wei. He told us that theoretically, there is no problem and he also demonstrated for us. Through Teacher Wei's guidance, we designed a completely new formation. Its development was delayed by the matter with the Jade Scrolls, so we just finished it recently. A completely new formation. Now even Sui Mo found it hard to believe. This group of people were becoming increasingly stronger and coming up with strange and novel formations that even he could not think of. What did this have to do with formations? Master Ji Wei was extremely excited as he spoke rapidly. We call this Geet formation the insect exterminating formation. Its core is made from golden crystal sand. There only needs to be a Sword Shio who comprehended Sword Essence inside the formation and it can be used to kill all kinds of pests and diseases. We got some of the brothers from Vermilion Bird Camp to try. The effect is great and there are no blind spots. Sui Mo's face was dazed. He was dumbstruck. Ji Wei did not notice the dazed expression on Sui Mo's face. He waved his arms and said excitedly, and this insect exterminating formation even has an added benefit, it can help the Sword Shio brothers practice their Sword Essence and allow them to control their Sword Essence even better. Sui Mo was frightened as he looked dumbly at the two masters. The two masters finally noticed the strange expression on Sui Mo's face. The two exchanged a look. Master Sun Bao broke the silence opened. Darren, is everything alright? Alright. Very alright, Sui Mo unconsciously murmured. He gazed at the Ling fields in front of him and his dazed eyes were blank. This world was upended. Chapter 462, Cave Fright. Su Ling Sect. Lu Zhen's expression was serious. Ning Yi, Guming Gong, and Yuan Xian, is this information up to date? Lu Zhen was the present sect leader of Su Ling's sect, his cultivation was in the 3rd stratum Jindan and he was deeply trusted by the elders of the sect. Under his management, Su Ling's sect had become more prosperous than before. Not up to date but their goal is definitely these 3. Supposedly, Yuan Xian has already agreed. The one who spoke was Lu Zheng's Shidi Huangjie. He looked questioningly at Lu Zhen. Should we stop them? Lu Zhen asked instead, have we determined the origins of the people from Turtle Island? No, Huangjie shook his head, they are very wary. We are afraid of drawing their attention and do not dare to question deeper. We thought about asking Shang Wei Ming but there were no results. That guy's mouth is unusually tight. And, they saved his life. It seems Shang Wei Ming is determined to help this group of people. Lu Zhen continued, you also saw the sword show in the city that day, what do you think? Their cultivation is average, all Ningmai, but their killing energies are dense and should be a group of well-trained lawless brutes. Among them, the ratio of those who comprehend sword essence is very high. Huang Jie recalled. He thought of the troop of sword shio that had flew by him, the threads of killing essence coiling around them that had caused his heart to shake. He refocused and continued, I heard they have a cultivation class that says it guarantees comprehension of sword essence. Since they dare to give such a boast, they must have some technique that others do not know. They also have a sword shio expert that is not weak. It is also rare that he is willing to teach and accept disciples. Who do you favor? Lu Zhen said with a smile. Huang Jia said after a moment, if Tian Yongqing them can really invite Ning Yi and the others, 7-3. Tian Yongqing 7, Turtle Island 3. When experts fight, it is not the killing of battalions, it depends on individual power. Ning Yi's personality isn't good, but his strength is hard to deal with. In our sect, other than sect leader who can fight him, the others cannot do it. Unless the top, Lu Zhen raised a hand and stopped Huang Jia from continuing. He said, do not worry, I have invited Huang Longzhenren to come visit for a while. With Huang Longzhenren and I, they would not dare to mess about. Huang Jia said with a smile, I had guessed that sect leader would be prepared but didn't think you would have invited Huang Longzhenren. I also do not have any other solutions. Lu Zhen smiled and then his expression became stern again. The Tian family has been very lively recently. It seems that the Tianyi battalion's rise in rankings has caused their confidence to inflate. Sect leader means. Wait for this matter to end. We will strike at the Tian family so they will don't lose sight of themselves. Sect leader is right. In a dark cave, a trail of black shadows marched for the deep reaches of the cave. The one walking at the very front was Lil the Black, followed by 10th grade. Lil, Pagoda and Lil, Fire were circling around Ague. Ague's eyes exuded faint purple light that seemed eerie. Silly Bird was last as she held her head high as she slowly walked her bird walk, unaffected by the darkness, she was as proud and at ease as always. Ague's situation was growing better by the day, her expressions gradually becoming nimble. Lil, Pagoda and the others always accompanied Ague. The caves on the island were overgrown with grasses and plants, and became the playground of Ague and the others who played happily. Suddenly, Lil the Black that walked at the very front stopped, its two antennae furiously waving. The battle maniac 10th grade was like a cat that had smelt fish, his little face instantly showing excitement. Holding the little black sword, he flew into the darkness. Many flames erupted on Lil Fire's body, the bright fire chasing away the darkness and revealed the Lil gang. The Lil ones were around Ague as the purple energy in her eyes wavered. 10th grade's body suddenly flashed and disappeared. Clink. A spark suddenly shot out of the air and the sharp sound of collision came into the Lil one's ears. The flames on Lil Fire's body wavered and it timidly leaned towards Ague. Lil Fire's little feet grabbed onto Ague's leg and it climbed up into Ague's head to hide inside her hair. Lil Pagoda was daring and unafraid, moving closer in curiosity. Silly Bird had an idle expression. Clink clink clink. Sparks lit up the air and the sharp sounds beat down on the airs. Using the light of the fire, the Lil ones finally saw clearly. So this was a group of black insects. These black insects were about the same size as 10th grade, their bodies shaped like shuttles and they were extremely fast. Their shells were extremely hard, and created sparks when colliding with the black sword in 10th grade's hand but were not damaged. Having found an opponent, 10th grade quickly descended into excitement, his stern face was murderous. 10th grade with his black clothing and black sword was like a black bolt of lightning. In a turn, he had sealed off the advance of these little black insects. Chirp chirp. Sounds of the insects sounded. Clink clink clink. The sparks from the battle made it seem like a crescent barrier of fire had formed. The killing energy on 10th grade's face grew. He felt the pressure was increasing. The number of little black insects was increasing. Silly Bird showed a wary expression. It detected danger. Pia pia pia. The sparks were bright in the darkness. The little ones quickly changed expressions. The spark barrier was slowly being pushed towards them. 10th grade's figure moved quicker and quicker, his little face was vicious but the insects were increasing in number and he could not stop their advance. Lilith Pagoda did not dare to just look on from the side. It released a 5-colored light that swept towards the insects. The insects that were swept by Lilith Pagoda's 5-colored light suddenly froze. 10th grade, who felt even more frustrated due to being pressured, suddenly exploded and the sword presence grew. The barrier of sparks suddenly expanded outwards. Yet what no one had expected was that the spark barrier that just expanded seemed to have encountered an invisible hand that suddenly pushed it back. Insects, even more insects. In the depths of the cave, insects furiously came out like the tide. The purple light in Ague's eyes rose. Her right hand waved and a wave of insects that were attacking seemed to encounter a fatal attack, falling down silently. When they landed, their bodies were motionless. They were dead. Ague's attack caused the tide of insects to stall. Opportunity. The Lil ones had followed Xuemo for a long time, and their skills at fleeing were even better. Without needing to communicate, their figures retreated in unison. They were so in sync it was as though they were tied together by the same rope. The insect tide that had paused momentarily lost all restraint and furiously leapt at the Lil ones. The chirping was endless and caused pain in the eardrums. The Lil ones were in sync. Frightened, they ran with all their power. Silly Bird did not have any of the composure of an expert now as she furiously waved her wings and occasionally sneaked a look back, actions which did not affect her speed at all. The insect wave was following tightly on their behinds. Just as they were going to catch up, the Lil ones suddenly sensed everything lit up. They were out of the cave. What caused their eyes to widen was that the insects all stopped when they got to the cave entrance. In a flash, the shadow of the cave entrance was crowded with insects. These insects packed together in layer and on top of each other. It was frightening to see. Using the sunlight, they finally saw the true appearance of these insects. These insects were not black, but a brown color, their bodies flat and shuttle-shaped. There was a pair of thin gossamer wings on their backs. It may have been because they lived in the dark, that they had extremely tiny eyes that were almost invisible. What was most shocking was their mouth that was filled with sharp fang that caused coldness in those who saw it. The Lil ones were frightened. They quickly found that these insects did not come out of the cave no matter what. Then they rested their hearts. The mischievous Lil Pagoda saw the insects were not willing to come out of the cave and its fear disappeared. It floated to a place only 3 zhang from the mouth of the cave and twisted its 5-layered waist at the insects in the cave, making all kinds of funny faces. The insects at the cave shifted and furiously climbed towards the cave mouth, but no matter how they climbed, they would not come out of the cave. Seeing Lil Pagoda was fine, Lil Fire and Lil Black also came out to taunt the insects before contentedly leaving. 10th grade looked back at the cave entrance crawling with insects before leaving, his always stern face suddenly had a dark smile. Full of murderousness. No problem. We will transport a batch of brown spotted rock and water soul crystal as soon as possible. Because you require a large number, it will probably be around 10 days. The shopkeeper of Cloud Pavilion said warmly to Bao Yi. The shopkeepers from the previous incident had been punished or fired by Liao Qi-chang. This shopkeeper had been moved over from another store. He was very clear on how he had become the storekeeper of Su Ling City Cloud Pavilion, and the young master had ranked Mr. Zhua as 3rd on the list of people to pay special attention to. Even though this person was not Mr. Zhuo himself, he was still cautious. While the king of hell was easy to see, the little ghosts were difficult to spot, so he did not dare to slight him. Other than using the fastest possible speed to get the merchandise, he had also given the best discount. Bao Yi showed a satisfied expression. He knew the market and understood that the delivery speed and prices of the other provided were very satisfactory. Thanks, shopkeeper. Bao Yi raised his folded hands in thanks. Darren placed great importance on this batch of brown spotted rock and water soul crystal, telling him to order them as fast as possible. Having completed what Darren had given him to do, a rock landed in Bao Yi's heart. Before leaving Cloud Pavilion, Bao Yi cast a disguise over his face. He quickly walked into another shop. After the businesses in Su Ling City teamed up against Turtle Island, Bao Yi's business had entered a stagnant state. He would even have trouble buying things. Other than Cloud Pavilion that continued to work with them, the other shops did not sell them anything, much less buy. Bao Yi quickly thought of a solution and used disguise arts. No one would suspect him if he did not use his true appearance as he went shops to make purchases. Many shoujo were not willing to use their true appearances and there were many that used disguise arts. Just like normal, he paid attention to the price of all the merchandise and the discussion in the corner quickly entered his ears. Ha, this time, Turtle Island cannot escape. Bao Yi's heart shook and his ears instantly rose up. Chapter 463, What Strange Thing Is This? In front of Zhuo Mo, there was a black gold paper about 3 CUN that was covered in cryptic golden seal scripts, each the size of tadpoles. On the top of the black gold paper was a little figure about 1 chi tall. It was the black gold seal soldier. Zhuo Mo's consciousness was like an oil slick that tightly covered onto this piece of paper. He didn't even dare to blink his eyes. A short while later, his forehead was covered in a fine layer of sweat. A minuscule line of fire followed his finger and flew onto the seal paper, tracing among the scripts of the paper seal. Zhuo Mo was trying to repair the black gold seal soldier. Zhuo Mo drooled thinking about the black gold seal soldier that seemed unable to die. However, his strike seemed to have damaged the black gold seal soldier. He was now trying out methods to fix the seal soldier. Fortunately, he had managed to find the detailed method and instructions to make the black gold seal soldier in a jade scroll he took from Gu Xianxia's body. Zhuo Mo had found the solution after trying a few times. Possessing the Great Day Banded Flame, Zhuo Mo innately had an advantage in forging. Gu Xianxia was very skilled in making paper seals but he was not a rich person. This could be seen from the pitifully small amount of things left on his body. Zhuo Mo had thought he could get a lot of spoils, but there were not many items. The black gold seal soldier was Gu Xianxia's ultimate attack and he had invested the majority of his blood and energy in it. But in Zhuo Mo's eyes, the materials were still low quality. The information Gu Xianxia left in the jade scroll also indicated this. Because he could not find several materials at the time, Gu Xianxia could only substitute some materials with others of similar attributes. This caused the black gold seal soldier that he forged to be lacking compared to what he had originally designed, and he had felt great regret. Gu Xianxia lacked materials, but this wasn't a problem for Zhuo Mo. He had received a batch of high-grade materials on the sealed extinction battlefield, including an astounding amount of golden crystal sand. The black gold seal soldier needed materials of this kind the most. And among the items Gu Xianxia had regretting not being able to obtain were the materials that had intelligence. Zhuo Mo had many of those. The totem fragments were piled up like mountains at Bao Yi's place. As the consciousness and Ling power moved, Zhuo Mo's body seemed to be pulled by thin invisible threads and uncontrollably trembled violently. A clear yet strange feeling came. He had started to become familiar with the changes that merging the three powers had brought and discovered many abilities. When he was controlling fire and forging, what he relied on the most was consciousness and Ling power. He could now increase the strength of his consciousness and Ling power through controlling the muscles in his body. Right now, Zhuo Mo's three powers could barely be considered united. The benefits that came with this were easy to see. In terms of purity, he could not compare to Xianxia that only cultivated Ling power, but in terms of endurance battles, other people were lacking compared to him. The tiny Great Day banded flame threads of fire that curved along the seal paper turned to countless little flames. They seemed to be attracted by the black gold seal soldier, slowly leaving the seal paper and entering the black gold seal soldier. The seal scripts on the body of the black gold seal soldier suddenly lit up as though they were red hot. Zhuo Mo did not dare to relax. The golden crystal sand he had prepared beforehand was thrown at the black gold seal soldier. The black gold seal soldier was like a magnet, it absorbed all the golden crystal sand. At this moment, the fine flames wrapped the black gold seal soldier. The seal scripts that covered the black gold seal soldier gave off a blinding light. It was like a dazzling sun. Zhuo Mo's eyes stung like they were being pricked by needles, but he didn't dare to close his eyes. A totem fragment appeared on his hands. This totem fragment was about the size of his palm and engraved with a simple and old character. Zhuo Mo did not know what this character meant. He had asked Wei and Pu Yao, they didn't know either. But this totem fragment was one of the most outstanding totem fragments he had acquired. Zhuo Mo felt that he really bled this time. He hesitated and threw the totem fragment into the ball of light. Boom! The light grew and Zhuo Mo felt as though his skin was being pierced by countless steel needles at the same time. He was extremely shocked and hurriedly closed his eyes. The ball of light changed and flickered as though something was moving inside. Zhuo Mo suddenly found that his consciousness could not enter this ball of light, and he was even more shocked. What was going on? Eyes closed, Zhuo Mo did not notice that the seal scripts on the seal paper seemed to become alive and creep over towards him. This transformation continued for 12 whole hours. Zhuo Mo did not dare to relax during this 12 hours. Thankful, this ball of light was not interested in his Ling power, so he did not need to channel Ling power into it. He released a breath at this. Ling power was always his shortcoming. Even though his three powers had merged into one and could, to a certain degree, compensate for his Ling power, but during forging, he still needed to be frugal. The light gradually dimmed, and Zhuo Mo's heart rose. But when he saw the appearance of the black gold seal soldier, he was dumbstruck. The black gold seal soldier had changed greatly, turning from being black and gold to dark gold all over. All the seal scripts on its body had been hidden away, yet what shocked Zhuo Mo was the appearance of the black gold seal soldier. It looked exactly the same as him. What was going on? How could it be the exact same as him? Strange. Just as Zhuo Mo was puzzled, this black gold seal soldier suddenly opened his eyes. Boom! Zhuo Mo felt his mind ring as though a heavy hammer had struck. A vicious and savage presence with the black gold seal soldier at the center suddenly swept out. Dizzy, Zhuo Mo heard Wei's panicked voice in his mind. Quick! Offer sacrifice! Offer sacrifice! Not having recovered from the blow, Zhuo Mo was blank. Use the golden armor guards. Wei said without hesitation. Zhuo Mo's mind cleared up. Golden armor guards. However, he knew that this was not the time for questions. He hurriedly summoned the golden armor guards. When the large golden armor guards appeared in front of the black gold seal soldier, the black gold seal soldier's eyes lit up. The golden armor guards uncontrollably flew towards the black gold seal soldier, and when they flew close, they shrank dramatically. The next scene caused Zhuo Mo to be dumbstruck where he stood. The black gold seal soldier suddenly opened his mouth, and those miniaturized golden armor guards flew into the mouth of the black gold seal soldier. When they had flown over to the mouth of the black gold seal soldier, they were the size of a bean. The black gold seal soldier swallowed these golden armor guards in one gulp. Having consumed the golden armor guards, the black gold seal soldier calmed down. The vicious and vast presence quickly retreated and the figure silently floated on top of the seal paper. Its eyes closed again and slowly landed. When it landed on the black gold seal paper, it continued to descend. The black gold paper was like a large vortex and slowly absorbed the black gold seal soldier. Like this, the figure slowly sank into the black gold seal paper. The light of the black gold seal paper disappeared and it was motionless. What was this? Mo gaped. Using just 30 pieces of 5th grade Jingxia to invite me to kill someone. So Ning Yi, is just worth 30 pieces of Jingxia. The disdain on Ning Yi's face was thick and his tone was extremely unfriendly. Ning Yi's eyes were long and narrow, he sat cross-legged, his arms resting on his knees, as he stared coldly at Boss Su. Boss Su's expression changed, and he couldn't help but regret his impulse to take on this fatal task. Ning Yi's personality was fickle and killed people like cutting grass. If the other was discontent, then his little life definitely would not be safe. Listening to Ning Yi's tone, he was clearly angry. Terror spread in Boss Su's heart. He couldn't help but tremble. Having the other expose his thoughts, Ning Yi was not angry. As long as it was not Kunlun, he did not fear them. He chuckled, it is Ning Yi's honor to help Brother Li. If that is the case, then we can finalize the deal. Brother Ning is virtuous, the youth with surname Li said respectfully and perceptively gave the Bagua energy mirror. Ning Yi caressed the Bagua energy mirror, feeling his mind was unspeakably calm and clear. The joy on his face increased. Chapter 464, Attack First. What is this? Mo asked Wei as he stared at the black gold seal soldier. Looking at the face that was the exact same as his, he felt unspeakably uncomfortable. Wei said in a deep voice, this seems a bit like a totem puppet. Totem puppet? Mo was slightly shocked. He moved to look at Wei. What is that? What is its purpose? The totem of each tribe is the symbol of each tribe. They are extremely powerful, but many totems did not like to personally attend to each tribal matter. They would bestow puppets to each tribe that contained some of their power. In the ancient era, totem puppets were numerous. They would be bestowed a power of the totems, but these powers were not as great as the totems themselves. Some totem puppets could function as seeds that the totems left behind for themselves. If the totem is destroyed, these totem puppets can use certain secret methods to reawaken the memories of the totem and become the new totem. Pu Yao listened carefully. Even he was not clear about these ancient matters. Mo's mind shifted. Seal soldiers were a method that united seals and puppets. Totem puppets made him think about the totem fragment he had used. What is offering sacrifice? Mo asked immediately. Offering the sacrifice is the most important step of the sacrificial ceremony. It usually is the signal that the ceremony has started. Wei explained, when your black gold seal soldier opened its eyes, it made me recall those sacrificial ceremonies. The sacrificial ceremonies of the ancient era usually require offerings. The totem puppets are like wild beasts and are extremely hungry. You did this by accident. As to what your black gold seal soldier can do, you need to explore it yourself. Things related to the totem is too distant even to us. The three were silent. He was right. The ancient era was way too archaic to them. Totem puppet. He always managed to come up with weird stuff, Mo couldn't help but grimace. He clearly had forged according to Gu Xiangtian's jade scroll, so why did the black gold seal soldier he made turn out completely different than in the instructions? Whatever, he'll know after trying it out. Zuemo held the paper seal and channeled the spell according to the method recorded in the jade scroll. There was no response. Zuemo paused. How could there be no response? He hurriedly took out the jade scroll and closely read it over. It was correct. Zuemo suddenly had a bad feeling. Could it be? He forced himself to calm and cast the spell again. Still no response. The corner of Zuemo's eyes jerked. The bad feeling grew and he tried again. Still no response. Why wasn't there a response? Had he ruined it? Zuemo looked at the paper seal in his hand with an ugly expression. Used so much effort, spent so many good materials, and even caused such a frightening offering of sacrifice, it all made Ge feel anticipation, but it is really a failure? Stupid thing. Zuemo was angry due to his embarrassment. Without another word, he whipped the paper seal at the table. Born to battle. A lazy voice that seemed to have just woken up suddenly popped out. The masculine and intimidating words were soft and without any strength. Behind this phrase was a long yawn. Zuemo's face was black as the bottom of a pot, his eyes staring viciously at the black gold seal soldier. The dark black gold seal soldier gave a yawn, drool coming out of the corner of his mouth, as he looked with sleepy eyes at Zuemo. Big bro, what you want? Zuemo was frozen where he stood. Pu Yao and Wei were also dumbstruck. Other than being completely dark gold, this guy's wretched appearance was just the same as Zuemo. Seeing no one reply, the black gold seal soldier gave another long yawn. Nothing. If there's nothing, I'm going to sleep. So sleepy. Finishing, he waved a hand at Zuemo and disappeared with a pop. Unfreezing, Zuemo felt the impulse to sob and cry. Was this still a seal soldier? That fierce seal soldier that was not afraid of death, where did it go? Wasting so much energy and materials, yet he only got this lazy guy. Zuemo felt he was so stupid he could go hit his head against a wall. The more he thought, the more Zuemo missed the black gold seal soldier that was stoic, silent, and ignorant of pain or exhaustion. Such a good black gold seal soldier. His luck was terrible. Among Pu Yao and Wei's sympathetic eyes, Zuemo wanted to cry, so regretful his intestines were green. Zhongru chanted in a low voice as he gently swung the prayer wheel in his hands. The sutra characters on the prayer wheel up and swirled. Threads of wish power were like a great gray poison that permeated the crossed prayer wheel. His crossed prayer wheel used the 9-turn sky-earth disk as the body, the Vajragata as the spokes as it was inscribed by the attainment golden body, scripture that Zhongru recited every day. The talisman was purified by wish power, so the two talismans showed signs of merging together. Even though it was just a preliminary shape, it already had wonderful powers. What he needed right now was time to continue to merging it, so this crossed prayer wheel could truly be created. But the present crossed prayer wheel was still the second best talisman in the camp. The 9-turn sky-earth disk was 6th grade, and after being processed in all kinds of dhyana methods, it became even more gentle and enigmatic. Other than teaching, Zhongru spent all his time on this crossed prayer wheel. An irritated Zuemo was found by a hurried Bao Yi. Bao Yi, expression panicked, reported the news he had found to Zuemo. Shang Wei Ming had also hurried over changed expression when heard the name Ning Yi. Zuemo was not concerned. They only have this kind of move. In his view, this Tian family was lacking compared to Pu Yao. These kind of little techniques to Zuemo, who had killed his way out of mountains of corpses, really could not stir his interest. A classic little scuffle. Shang Wei Ming saw Zuemo was not very concerned and instantly became urgent. Darren, that Ning Yi doesn't bat an eyelid when killing. No one can stop him with his cultivation. He has an extremely powerful talisman called the Blood Fiend Azura Umbrella that is extremely domineering, and the blood light it releases is hard to defend against. Many people have fallen under this umbrella. This powerful Suemo stilled. Even more than the 1,000-gem illusory disc. Shang Weiming hurriedly said, "How can the 1,000-gem illusory disc be compared to the Blood Fiend Azura umbrella?" The 1,000-gem illusory disc could be said to be a powerful talisman in Su Ling City, but it is nothing in all of Cloud Xijia. The Blood Fiend Azura umbrella is famed in all of Cloud Xijia. Using this umbrella, Ning Yi had killed more than 70 Xiuzha, even more than 10 Jindan experts. The Blood Fiend Azura umbrella is ranked 10th on the Jia's ranking of 6th grade talismans, and is very powerful. This powerful Suemo jumped in fright. Suemo did not have any concept of the talisman ranking, but if it was more powerful than that 1,000-gem illusory disc, then he found it worthy of attention. When he had been caught in that 1,000-gem illusory disc, it had been because he was not on guard, but Suemo had been astounded by the power of the talisman. The power displayed by the 1,000-gem illusory disc surpassed all talismans Suemo had ever seen before and caused him to re-evaluate the value of talismans. Otherwise, he would not have been willing to spend all of his wealth to outfit everyone. But he was also clear that the talismans that could be bought on the market and the true top talismans had an insurmountable gap. In his view, the 1,000-gem illusory disc was already a great talisman. If that Blood Fiend Azura umbrella was even more powerful, then it was trouble. Suemo's first reaction was first send a group of people to kill Ning Yi on the road. No matter how strong Ning Yi or that Blood Fiend Azura umbrella was, if there was enough people, he would still be killed. When this idea popped up, it uncontrollably spread in Suemo's mind. Sitting and waiting for others to come to the door was not Xiao Moge's style. He wanted himself to always be the first person to attack. As to whether the news that Baoyi found was true or not, he didn't even think about it. The pitiful Ning Yi was still immersed in the joy of having the Bagua energy mirror, and was ignorant that a certain someone had given him the label of enemy. Quickly setting his target, Suemo started to think if he should fight, what advantages were there in fighting? What disadvantages were there if he did not fight? In a few moments, Suemo decided to fight. Attacking first meant having the advantage. The other was in the open and they were in the shadows and could take the initiative. If they could successfully kill Ning Yi, the other two would definitely feel fear. Also, the other would not predict that Suemo would attack first. This kind of sneak attack was very sudden and Suemo's most liked option. Their advantage of numbers could be used. Gang fighting was his best love. If he did not fight and waited for the others to come to his door, Suemo and the others would be restrained in this Su Ling city. With so many benefits, why shouldn't they attack? The team selection was easy: himself, Wei Sheng, Xia Shang, and Zhong Ru. For Jindan against Ning Yi. No matter how powerful that Blood Fiend Azura umbrella was, they should have a possibility of victory. If that really didn't work, then adding Shu Long, which would increase the probability of success. Suemo asked in detail. As expected, Ning Yi was the most powerful of the trio. He unhesitatingly chose Ning Yi as the target. The saying was to capture the bandits, first capture the leader. 10th grade gazed at the deep cave with a grave expression. He had been forced back last time. The charging power of the insects inside was very powerful, and the number of insects far surpassed his imagination. Recalling the scene that day caused him to feel a thread of fear. It was this thread of fear that had caused him to feel shame. He was a Ling beast that wanted to become 10th grade, how can he feel fear? The vicious 10th grade felt that this had become a demon haunting him. If he could not destroy this monster, he would forever have a weakness. And Master once said that where one lost face, he had to regain it at that place. He could not swallow this. He had to take back his face. Insects, Yi has come back. Viciousness flashed through 10th grade's eyes as he unhesitatingly threw himself into the cave. Chapter 465 Danger, is the information accurate? Why haven't we even seen a shadow? Xianxia muttered lowly. They were hiding in the cloud sea with formations around them. If one did not come close, they were hard to detect. What are you in a rush for? Sua Mo glared. He also did not have much confidence. The information all relied on one person, since there was only Shan Wei Ming in his command who was familiar with Cloud Sea Jia. Shan Wei Ming had quickly located one of Ning Yi's residences. Everyone had thought for a long time, according to the Jia map, Ning Yi had to pass through this route. Shan Wei Ming, who had been in Baiyu City, discovered that Ning Yi was traveling to Su Ling City from one of Ning Yi's servants in these few days. So Sua Mo and the others went back to waiting. They had already been laying in wait for 3 days but still had not seen Ning Yi's shadow. Luckily, they all had high cultivations. Other than Xianxia that muttered, everyone was able to keep their composure. Zhong Ru would close his eyes to meditate. His samadhi skill was increasing by the day and was as unmoving as a mountain. Wei Xing sat with crossed legs and closed eyes, the black sword lying across his legs, his presence idle. Xu Long did not come, having been assigned to stay on the island to guard it. If all the experts left, and people took over their nest, then this matter would really be unprofitable. Suddenly, a few black dots appeared on the horizon. Zhuo Mo's eyes was keen and instantly saw the person at the front was Ning Yi. His mind became alert as he said in a low voice, "He's come." Wei Xing opened his eyes, his hand on his sword hilt. Zhong Ru, who opened his eyes at the same time, now held the crossed prayer wheel and was slowly waving it. Xianxia snickered, the paired mirage sword in his hand. Sua Mo carefully looked at the two people next to Ning Yi. They were dressed in servant clothing and should be Ning Yi's servants. When the procession flew close, Sua Mo suddenly shouted, "Move!" The first to attack was Wei Xing. His eyes lighting up, the black sword in his hand silently turned as it gently stabbed into empty space. At the same time, Zhong Ru and Xianxia also acted. One of Zhong Ru's hands led, and the characters on the crossed prayer wheel on his right hand lit up one by one. The sutra characters automatically fell off the wheel. They did not dissipate in the air but were like golden characters. These sutra characters flew towards Ning Yi. There were 7 golden characters in all, each golden character full of Dian Ling power and shrouded sounds of Buddhist chanting. Xiaxian's paired mirage sword drew out lines of 7 colored light energies like the rainbow bridge after rain, beautiful and murderous. The 5-colored fog in front of them was ever-changing. Sua Mo could feel a great formation power flowing within the fog. This fog was strange. Sua Mo had just heard Gu Minggong call this the 5-element fog shield. Was this 5-colored fog the one that belonged to the 5 elements? If it really was like that, then it really was not good. Sua Mo's heart continuously sank. Those that used fog to forge talismans were mostly roaming Xiu, because fog was not just divided into many kinds, each fog type had clear 5-element attributes. It was not easy to gather 5 kinds of fog of different elements, and it was even harder to forge this 5-element fog into one. The fog of different elements was clearly divided and would not easily merge into each other. 2 fogs of different elements were not easy to merge together, and with the addition of each extra fog, the level of difficulty multiplied. The difficulty of merging fog of 5 different elements into one talisman was as hard as reaching the heavens. When Sua Mo heard what the other called this talisman, he recognized the danger. He did not have the time to determine where they had slipped up. If they were the least bit careless, they would die here. Being battle experienced, Sua Mo quickly judged the situation. 4 against 3, they originally had the advantage of numbers, but the existence of the 5-element fog shield completely took away their advantage of numbers. Once their advantage disappeared, then they were facing danger. In terms of talismans, they definitely could not compare to Ning Yi's group. In terms of cultivation, it was the same. Ning Yi's trio had become famous long ago, and were at least of the second stratum cultivation while Ning Yi was the peak of third stratum. Their side had all been separated and what would follow would be each person's attack on them. Damn it! Zhuo Mo's mind spun quickly and his hands were not idle. He silently made a seal, and an invisible wind rippled. It was the bone-crushing obscuring flash. Gu Minggong's sound of surprise came from above. This spell is slightly interesting. But this old man will urge you to not waste your efforts. This old man's 5-element fog shield has 5 elements cycling endlessly and is not some illusion. Be obedient and let me capture you, this old man will let you keep your life. The flash wind spread, but the 5-element fog in the surroundings were not affected. As expected, it was not an illusion. Zhuo Mo's expression became even uglier. But he was not demotivated. The light void wings on his back lightly shook and he suddenly charged. Yet no matter how he flew, he could not see the end of the 5-element fog. Ha! This old man has already said to not waste effort. The 5-element fog will create and subdue each other, cycling endlessly and creating its own world. Even if you have heaven-tearing moves, you cannot leave this old man's 5-element fog shield. Gu Minggong's smug laughter entered Zhuo Mo's ears. Minggong, why waste words on them? Ming Yi's cold voice inserted, so boring, these little insects caused the 3 of us to have to make a trip. Minggong, end them. We can finish early, find a place to drink tea, isn't that pleasurable? Master Yuan Xian said, excellent, excellent. Gu Minggong laughed brightly, both of you have elegant leanings. This old man will show his paltry moves. Zhuo Mo and the others felt the space tighten around them and the 5-element fog squeezed them from all directions. At the same time, tendrils of 5-element fog coiled around them like multicolored poisonous snakes. The light fog was like iron chains that were extremely strong and they were unable to move a hair no matter how they struggled. Even with the great Daimo physique, Zhuo Mo's struggle was ineffective. The more he struggled, the greater the power the 5-element smoke on his body passed over. Was today the end? Tian Hengbo licked his lips, his eyes narrowed as he showed a cruel smile. He had a fire repressed in his heart at this time. The prey was in front of him, and his heart was filled with the desire to kill. Behind him were 5 Xiuzha. They either had cold or idle expressions but without an exception, all of them had murderous presences. These 5 looked to be experienced people that spent long times on the battlefield. Only old-timers could behave so relaxed before a battle. All the Jindan battle show of the Tian family were here. Just these 6 Jindan battle show were enough to deal with a battalion. Behind the 6 were the battle show packed in tightly. Tian Yi Battalion. It was the first battalion of the Tian family that had just returned from the battlefield, Tian Yi Battalion. The Tian family really invested greatly this time. Other than the Tian Yi Battalion, the other 2 elite battalions of the Tian family had also been called here. Tian Yongqing decided to use the chance to capture the Turtle Island. Tian Yongqing had not thought so much to start with, yet Gu Minggong was outstandingly clever, deducing that Zhuo Mo and the others would attempt an ambush on Ning Yi. Tian Yongqing was also a smart person. His mind spun and instantly understood. Right now, all the experts of Turtle Island had left, and the island was at its weakest, and had the least number of experts. How could they miss this 1 in 1,000 chance? Once they captured the Turtle Island with its abundant ling fields, the Tian family could instantly multiply its output and have revenue rolling in. If they took the chance of their increased reputation to recruit talents, no one could stop the rise of the Tian family. Even Su Ling's sect could not stop them. The Turtle Island in front of them was like a beautiful cut of meat that every member of the Tian family drooled after. From today, this piece of meat belonged to the Tian family. The murderousness in Tian Hengbo's eyes grew as he shouted, "Kill!" The Black Battalion was like a black cloud that pressed towards Turtle Island. If he knew there was such a powerful soul, he would think of ways to kill and capture it, even if he hadn't been asked to. This was a temptation he could not resist. He was really lucky today. Without another word, he leapt at Wei Sheng. Yuan Xian's eyes were lightly locked onto that bright golden light. The vast Diana essence exuded through that light caused shock in him, and also his eyes to become red. He came from a small sect, and the Skanda staff scripture was something he had accidentally stumbled on in a cave. He was endowed with great talent, and the Skanda staff scripture was like adding wings to a tiger. His cultivation increased by the day and he gradually entered the ranks of experts. He had used great effort after becoming Jindan to gather all types of materials to forge this Skanda staff in his hand. Yet when he saw the other's pure Diana essence, he still could not stop his eyes from turning red. What the other cultivated was definitely an extremely profound Diana scripture, one even more profound than his Skanda staff scripture. He had completely studied the Skanda staff scripture, and it was unable to help him improve any longer. It could help him become Jindan but could not help him cultivate into Yuanying. His fingers tightly gripped the Skanda staff. Because he was gripping with too much force, his fingers were white. No matter what, he had to take this Diana scripture. Only better Diana scriptures could help him become Yuanying. The Skanda staff in his hand suddenly paused and the copper rings hummed in unison. Among the Buddhist chanting was murderous intent. A divine light was discernible on Yuan Xian's face as he strode directly at Zhong Ru. As the flame seal armor appeared, Suemo felt the pressure instantly decrease. The Great Day Banded Flame was as powerful as expected and he released a breath. But he still had no idea how to defeat this 5-element fog shield. This 5-element fog shield had all 5 elements, was full of variations, and the other's forging abilities were clearly high, so there were likely many hidden abilities that he had not anticipated. Bone-crushing obscuring flash was proven to be ineffective, which meant that the fog in front of him was not an illusion. Then what was it? Suddenly recalling the formation power he had just detected, Suemo shook. Did this 5-element fog shield contain formation-like changes? The more he thought, the more likely it seemed. The 5 elements enhanced and subdued each other. In formation, there were countless methods that used the 5 elements. The fog was also intangible and could change shape as one willed. In terms of formations, it could add many variations. If that was the case, then this was really a big headache. With a slight investigation using his consciousness, Suemo's expression instantly became even uglier. The 5 types of fog seemed to be mixed together casually, but it hid an undecipherable pattern. And the other had used a secret method that caused these 5 types of fog to remain separate at times, or to merge together in unpredictable changes. Thinking about how the Great Day Banded Flame had just burned the fog, Suemo's eyes lit up. Maybe he could use the Great Day Banded Flame. The flame on his body burst out again. He charged towards the thickest part of the fog and heard hissing. The flame isn't bad. Pity that you are lacking. It is delusion to think you can defeat my 5-element fog shield with just this kind of move. Gu Minggong's cold voice came. He clearly was angry now. He had relaxed his guard momentarily and his 5-element fog shield had been slightly damaged. He treasured this talisman's and would feel great pain at any bit of damage. Suemo felt the scenery change and the 5-color fog around him became red fog. This kind of fog was red like fire and moved like sharks that smelt blood, furiously rushing at Suemo. Before he could react, a suction force came and the Great Day Banded Flame began to leave his body. Suemo was astounded. The red fog around the Great Day Banded Flame was so thick it was almost tangible. The attractive force had come from the red fog. Fire element fog. A formation. Zhuemo suddenly reacted and took back the Great Day Banded Flame. It had just been a moment, and half of his Great Day Banded Flame was gone. The fire element fog that absorbed the Great Day Banded Flame. Zhuemo was both shocked and felt pain in his heart. Such a powerful fog. Such a powerful formation. The other was so skilled it surpassed Zhuemo's imagination. The other was able to set up a fire-absorbing formation with the fog. Otherwise, no matter how powerful the fire element fog was, it could not absorb so much Great Day Banded Flame in such a short amount of time. He finally tasted the power of the other. As expected of the Seal Immortal. Before, Zhuemo had put all his thoughts on Ning Yi and did not pay any attention on the other two. Now he understood that those with great fame were never insubstantial. Having rampaged in Blood Sky Metropolis Jia, Zhuemo had never expected that he would be continuously set back when he entered Cloud Sea Jia. This time, he found that he was once again put in a state of life and death, and he found he actually had no solutions. Last time, when he had been caught in the 1,000-gem illusory disc, the black gold seal soldier of Gu Xiang Tian had been great trouble for him and he almost died. Wait! Black gold seal soldier. A light flashed through Zhuemo's eyes. But thinking about that guy's wretched and lazy appearance, he felt this idea was unreliable. But he really had no other solutions that he could think of at this time. The Great Daimo physique was powerful and few were a match, but the opponent's moves were countered and subdued the Great Daimo physique. Other than this, he still had a killing move, Archaic Wasteland Sacrificial Art. While this move was extremely powerful, it expended a great amount of Ling power. If it was not at death's door, he definitely did not dare to use it. Without another words, he took out the black gold seal paper and channeled Ling power. No response. Thinking about the scene last time, the corners of Zhuemo's eyes jerked. Did this guy have to be hit to come out? Pia. He suddenly hit the paper seal on his hand. Born to battle. The lazy and drowsy voice sounded again. The black gold seal soldier appeared in front of Zhuemo looking at the dark golden features that were the same as his. Even in such a dangerous situation, Zhuemo felt his mind turn to a mess. Heavens, why did he put his hopes on such an unreliable person? Alright, since called one out, then he would let them all come out. Without another word, he took out all the beast service cards in his ring, and released them one after one. Qing Shidi had given them to him but he had never used them before. Fire-tailed fox, white light butterfly, black and white fork-tailed sparrow. You have a lot of knickknacks. Gu Minggong's snort of laughter came from above his head. Just this trash and you want them to save your life? Ha! Listen to this old man, let me capture you. Do not waste your effort on ineffective struggles, and this old man will keep you alive. Gu Minggong's voice was friendly and sincere. Zhuemo pretended not to hear it, and continuously let out the Ling beasts. After fighting for so long, Zhuemo had generally gotten the scope of the situation. The other's 5-element fog shield was powerful, but only in the area of formation variations. There was no problem in trapping him, but it would not be so simple if the other wanted to kill him. Understanding the situation, he calmed down. It was pity. If Lil Pagoda was here, that would be good. These 5-element fog would be great nutrients for it. He could only think of other ways now. He hoped that these Ling beasts would be enough to have an effect, at least they had numbers. A Ling beast army, this idea was pretty good. Zhuemo was slightly proud. His surroundings quickly filled with all kinds of Ling beasts that numbered more than 200. He had used all the beast service cards that Chun Yucheng had given him regardless of the grade. No one would be like him and release so many Ling beasts in one go. The more Ling beasts one released, the harder they were to control. Even a beast breeder like Chun Yuqing could not control several hundred Ling beasts in one go. But Sui Mo did not care that much right now. It was possible to see what a level he had been pressured into. What Sui Mo did not detect was a gleaming pair of eyes not far from him that was staring at the Ling beast army he put such high hopes on. And there was the sound of gurgling as this one swallowed. Chapter 467, Strong Offense. The sky was a fiery red as though storm of spells raining down had lit the air on fire. Tian Hengbo's expression was comparably ugly to the burning sky. Up until now, they hadn't broken through the island's protective formation. Thunder roiled within the Yinyang thunder cloud formation. Lightning occasionally flashed and the silver snakes curved with a frightening presence. But what caused people to feel hopeless was the azure energy that would occasionally appear. They didn't know what those azure energies were, but any spell that encountered the azure energy, no matter how powerful, would disappear. The Tian family started out as Ling plant farmers, but they had recruited a seal Xiu that was skilled in formations. But that seal Xiu's head was covered in sweat and his expression was distraught at this time. How much longer? Tian Hengbo felt impatient and his voice was murderous. He had never thought that Turtle Island was really a turtle, one that had retreated into its shell. A shell so hard it could break off people's teeth. They had been stopped right outside the formation. If they could not break through the defense of the formation, it would be a serious blow to their present high morale. What caused him even more fury was that Tian Yi had sent a message from the rear with the undisguised disdain. Tian Ye's personality was eccentric and had terrible relations with Tian Hengbo. Tian Hengbo found it hard to tolerate being laughed at by Tian Yi. I don't know. This female Xiu knew Tian Hengbo's fiery temper. She swallowed hard and tried to explain, this island has an expert in formations. The Yinyang thunder formation has been strengthened, and a lightning wood element has been added. There is also a very strange formation on the island that this subordinate has never seen before. This formation, in other words, there's no solution. Tian Hengbo stared at the seal Xiu with a dark face. The heart of the seal Xiu tightened. He stammered out, this subordinate needs 2 hours, no, 4 hours, whoosh. Energy flashed through the head of the seal Xiu and blood streamed out. What is the use in keeping you? Tian Hengbo's voice was cold. He did not look at the corpse on the ground, turning and ordering, all of you, launch an all-out assault. Anyone that retreats will be killed without question. The people around him shook inside and responded in the affirmative. Battle Xiu flooded in behind them and encircled Turtle Island, preparing their spells together. Only one troop was stood out, staying motionless. That was Tian Yi Battalion. Tian Hengbo felt great hatred towards them but did not show it on his face. He ordered the other 2 elite battalions to attack at the same time. He resolved that he would take down Turtle Island no matter what. Otherwise, he would not be able to raise his head in front of Tian Yi in the future. To break a formation, other than deconstructing it, there was another method, a strong attack. In theory, when the attack was strong enough, any formation can be defeated. In a flash, numerous spells fell down. Ji Wei looked at the burning sky and praised, this meridional azure ether formation is truly strong. Darren is uncanny in ability to be able to comprehend such a formation. It is a sect-protecting formation. With this formation, Darren is able to create his own sect. Sun Bao said simply, he's a sect unto himself now. Ji Wei thought. That was true, there wasn't any difference between Darren and a sect right now. Zhua Mo did not conceal the meridional azure ether formation, and everyone in Golden Crow camp learned it and understood its wonders. But the more they understood, the more they felt how immeasurable Darren was. Because it was not easy for Zhua Mo to explain the origins of the Jade Scroll, he told them that he had comprehended it himself. Zuemo had just wanted to find an excuse, and hadn't expected to cause everyone's admiration. They did not know that the meridional azure ether formation had great origins. A formation that Puyao had held onto until now. Could it be average? The spells rained down outside, but the sky was clear and calm on the island. The formation that was already powerful grew in stronger under Lil Pagoda's control. Regardless of the bombardment, it was like the rock in the middle of the sea that remained unmovable. The two of them were not nervous at all. It wasn't just these two, all the Xianxia of Golden Crow Camp had come to watch the spectacle and did not show any fear. Because near them the sword Xiao of Vermilion Bird Camp were waiting to attack. In the dark and cold mountain cave, Shu Long and the others stood around a black pond. Should we go out and help? Owen couldn't help asking. No need, they can deal with it. Shu Long's stern gaze was locked on the MO weapons floating in the pond. Beside him, everyone was anxious, afraid to breathe too harshly. After a while, the black pond started to bubble as though it was going to boil. Shu Long's expression became even more grave as he said in a deep voice, "Do you remember the method I just taught you?" Everyone nodded in unison. The MO weapons recognizes their owners, and all have their own good fortune. It is all right if you do not get one this time, but no one shall feel hate or envy. Shu Long's gaze swept across everyone. Ha, Brother Long is becoming more of a nag. What's there to hate? We're all brothers. The brothers that obtain MO weapons, you should go out and have a good run. Don't let Vermilion Bird Camp take the attention. That's right. I've been wanting that group of bird people to know the might of U.S. Guard Camp. The competitive relationship between the two camps could be seen from the appellations. The Xianxia of Guard Camp called Vermilion Bird Camp the Birdie Camp, and Vermilion Bird Camp Xianxia referred to the Guard Camp as Manual Labor Camp. Once the words came out, they caused a chorus of agreement and excitement. They were always discontent that Vermilion Bird Camp frequently ranked first. Shu Long had an imperceptible smile on the corner of his mouth. He usually used this competitive relationship to motivate everyone to cultivate. It seems that the effects were good. The black pond suddenly quieted. All noise disappeared, and everyone looked at the black pond. The quieted black pond was like a glossy and smooth mirror without any ripples. At this time, MO weapon silently floated onto the surface. A faint but intimidating and pure fiendish energy engulfed the cave without any warning. Every camp guard unconsciously stopped breathing, their eyes pulled towards the MO weapon. This was a curved blade. The completely black blade did not have the least bit of sheen. It had an abnormal curvature and seemed to have an unusual power that captivated and held people's gazes. MO weapons continuously floated onto the surface. The vicious fiendish energy in the cave increased in strength until it was almost tangible. Shu Long and the others felt this was unspeakably pleasurable. For Xianxia, this was undoubtedly pure toxic poison, but for them this vicious fiendish energy was like being immersed in a hot spring and extremely comfortable. No one moved even though their faces were full of excitement. They were waiting for Shu Long's command. Shu Long shouted, "Start." They then eagerly channeled the hardship guard. Killing essence filled the cave. Everyone had serious expressions, releasing as much killing essence as they could and were shrouded in tangible killing essence. The black mist of killing essence seemed to give off an inviting scent. The MO weapons that were inside the black pool were attracted and started to shake. The peaceful black pool was instantly disrupted. MO weapons chose their masters. For all the hardship guards including Shu Long, this was a very novel matter. They didn't even have a general concept of MO weapons, but they knew this could make them strong. Make them more powerful. That was enough. For these hardship guards that were once slave Xiao, following Darren was their own goal in life. Yet they found their combat capabilities was inferior to Vermilion Bird Camp and the effect they could cause with their strength was limited. For this group of people, that lived to follow Zhuemo, being unable to show their usefulness was even more depressing and uncomfortable than death. Each of them channeled their Mo skill to the max. Their eyes held determination that had gone through hardship. Ning Yi looked greedily at Wei Sheng. Such an extreme soul. He could smell the purity of this soul, it was so intoxicating. A masterpiece of heaven. Ning Yi licked his lips, his long and narrow eyes showing undisguised excitement. Wei Sheng did not speak. He could feel the other's great power, the terrifying presence and especially the vicious energy coming from the bloody umbrella in the other's hand that made him feel as though he was in hell. But he did not waver. He never felt fear because of the strength of an enemy. Not in the past, not now, and would not in the future. He was Wei Sheng, the one that always went forward. Wei Sheng. He looked without fear at the other. Battle intent in his eyes was like sword essence exploding. Only people that were familiar with him would notice a change, he had entered a battle state. The black sword in his hand raised and pointed straight at the other. Why do you uselessly struggle? Ning Yi shook his head and smiled slightly as though he was watching a pet play around. Boom! Vast sword essence was like the volcano breaking through the last layer of restraints, exploding into the sky. The space 3 zhang around Wei Sheng seemed to collapse inwards and showed unnatural curvature. The more Ning Yi watched, the more he liked it. Not bad, not bad. A very good seed, good seed. So young and having cultivated sword essence to such a level, you did not waste your soul. An Azura wielding the sword, I like this one. Suddenly, Ning Yi laughed. Why should I waste so many words on you? The mirth at the corner of his lips rose, and his gaze suddenly became vicious. Die. Before the sound landed, the blood fiend Azura umbrella in his hand suddenly snapped open and floated over Ning Yi's head. The blood fiend Azura umbrella slowly spun, releasing a red light and shielding Ning Yi in the middle. A beam of bloody red light that carried a nauseating tang of blood shot at Wei Sheng. Wei Sheng felt a feeling of extreme danger. Without hesitating, the black sword in his hand struck forth. The space in front of Wei Sheng was torn apart by this strike. There was a black void inside that was unknown. The blood light was stopped by this strike. Not bad. Ning Yi snorted coldly. But this is not enough. The blood fiend Azura umbrella spun faster, the bloody light increasing in strength and the nauseating tang of iron growing. What was even more terrifying was that tear in the space was being slowly pressed closed by the bloody light. Chapter 468, Damn it, 200 Ling beasts crouched around Zhuemo. They were extremely quiet and did not make any sounds. The sound of the black gold seal soldier swallowing was clear to hear. Zhuemo's temples throbbed as he turned around with an unfriendly expression. He saw the black gold seal soldier look yearningly at the Ling beast with a desirous and greedy gaze. He did not notice that Zhuemo was staring at him, his dark gold Adam's apple bobbing. He was clearly swallowing rapidly. Seeing its wretched state, Zhuemo felt a burning anger. You wasted so many of GE's good materials. Wasted so much of GE's emotions. Wasted so much of GE's time. Made GE be happy for nothing. You. Terrible history. Innumerable crimes. Just as Zhuemo's anger was about to erupt, the black gold seal soldier suddenly turned his face around, pointing at the Ling beasts and asking weakly, they look so delicious, can I eat one? Eat. Zhuemo's expression instantly darkened. The corners of his eyes continuously jerked and it was like pouring oil onto the hot anger in his chest. But he suppressed the anger and gritted out, if you can defeat this 5-element fog shield, you can eat all of them. If you can't, before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by the cheer of the black gold seal soldier. Really? The black gold seal soldier's eyes lit up and the gulping sounds increased in volume. He completely disregarded Zhuomo's furious gaze, turning his face and suddenly opening his mouth to face the five-colored fog. He suddenly sucked in. Hiss! A shocking scene occurred. The five-element fog that covered the sky flew straight at the black gold seal soldier's mouth. His mouth was like a bottomless hole. The five-colored fog flooded in furiously like a whale sucking in water. You dare! Petrified from shock, Zhuo heard the shocked and furious shout of Gu Minggong come from above his head. The fog twisted violently, but no matter how it changed, it seemed to be caught tightly by a powerful and invisible hand, unable to escape. Gu Minggong's expression changed greatly. He found that no matter how he channeled the five-element fog shield, he was unable to escape from this strong suction. In a blink, he actually felt that he was losing control of the five-element fog shield. This was not possible. Gu Minggong's face was ashen and he felt ice cold. His eyes were full of terror and disbelief. He had spent great effort on forging his five-element fog shield, and used a whole decade to forge this talisman. From the day it was forged, it was connected to his mind and was almost a part of his body. There never had been a situation where he could not control it. When his connection with the five-element fog shield started to disappear, he was unable to suppress the terror and hopelessness. Blood climbed into his eyes. He furiously channeled Ling power to drag back the five-element fog shield. Yet everything was futile. No matter how he channeled Ling power, no matter what spells he released, the five-element fog shield was still being sucked at a speed that made him hopeless into the mouth of that ghastly thing. What was that thing? He looked with bloodshot eyes at the dark golden black gold seal soldier like a gambler that had just lost everything. Zhuo was dumbstruck as he looked at the space around him that was emptied as though he was dreaming. This. The last thread of five-element fog was sucked into the mouth of the black gold seal soldier. His face was twisted as though he had eaten citrus peel. But when he turned around and looked at the Ling beasts, he instantly turned into smiles. Without a second word, he opened his mouth and sucked again. Like dumplings going into the pot, the Ling beasts flew one after the last into his mouth. In a blink, the 200 Ling beasts were cleared out. The black gold seal soldier showed a contented expression, gave a burp and then a yawn. With drowsy eyes, he waved at Zhuo, "Big bro, I'm so drowsy, going to sleep." He disappeared with a snap right after. Zhuo had not recovered from his shock. Everything that just happened gave him a great blow to his confidence. The five-element fog shield was the most powerful talisman he had ever seen, and was even more powerful than the 9-turn sky-earth disk. Adding on that Gu Minggong was also very powerful, it was an extremely strong trap, and was not something that the present Zhuo could face. He had realized this before. The five-element fog shield contained all five elements and was full of transformations. Gu Minggong was also skilled in formations and had added many formation transformations, so it was even more wondrous. Zhuo was certain that Gu Minggong still had many killing moves he had not used yet. How could the five-element fog shield only have just these few changes? But the shock that the black gold seal soldier gave Zhuo had not faded. Thinking about the wretched black gold seal soldier, Zhuo felt as though he had seen a ghost. The five-element fog shield was a top 6th grade talismans. It had been defeated by this guy in an instant. Was this a joke? The entire situation reversed so abruptly it was hard to accept. In Zhuomo's sea of consciousness, Pu Yao and Wei were also greatly shocked by the black gold seal soldier and were robbed of speech momentarily. "Give me my five-element fog shield." Zhuo shook at Gu Minggong, but he instantly reacted and looked maliciously at Gu Minggong. That heart-wrenching cry of fury only drew attention to Gu Minggong. Without the five-element fog shield, Gu Minggong in Zhuomo's eyes was a chicken plucked of all feathers. He also felt a similar feeling that the black gold seal soldier had felt when looking at the Ling beasts. Beautifully fat. Clang. The skunda staff in Yuan Xian's hand accurately struck a golden character. The golden character instantly turned to dots of golden light. But there was no satisfaction on Yuan Xian's face, only wariness. He had originally assumed that since the other was so young, even with a profound dhyana scripture, the other would not be a match for him. But in these rounds of fighting, the other was not at a disadvantage in the least. Yuan Xian's eyes stared at the crossed prayer wheel in Zhong Ru's hands, and his pupils couldn't help but contract. His heart was instantly taken over by jealousy. The skunda staff in his hand was not ordinary but was lacking compared to the other's prayer wheel. A profound dhyana scripture, a powerful talisman, they are all mine. With a large shout, Yuan Xian's skunda staff suddenly exploded with light, the copper rings chimed rapidly. Circles of golden light flew at Zhong Ru. Zhong Ru did not dare to underestimate them. This dhyana Xiu had deeper cultivation than him, and should be Jindan third stratum. His cultivation was so deep it surpassed Zhong Ru's imagination. The crossed prayer wheel shook slightly, sutra characters lighting up, falling and flying towards the golden circles of light. Pop pop pop. When they neared the golden circles of light, the sutra characters could not tolerate the enormous pressure and exploded into light. The terrifying pressure flooded towards Zhong Ru. The other had caught onto his shortcomings, his cultivation, and had decided to use the difference in cultivation to beat him down. Zhong Ru's expression was serious. If the other used this almost savage and primitive method, he did not have many good solutions. When the difference in power reached a certain degree, the advantages in other areas could not provide much help. Zhong Ru's days as a Jindan were short and he had not even touched the peak of first stratum. Compared to the other's peak of third stratum cultivation, his was greatly lacking. The two were only 2 stratums apart but the cultivation difference between the two was more than 10 times. It was, one on the earth, and one in heaven. So when Yuan Xian decided to use Ling power to defeat him, Zhong Ru instantly sank into a dangerous situation. Even though he had a 6th grade talisman like the crossed prayer wheel, he could not stop Yuan Xian's attack. It was a pity. If he had forged the crossed prayer wheel more to his wishes, he might have been able to stop these rings of light. Zhong Ru sighed inside, put away the crossed prayer wheel and put his palms together. Boom! A shadow about 3 zhang appeared behind him with 3 heads and 6 arms, it was the attainment golden body. The attainment Buddha opened one palm and grabbed one of the rings of light. Pia! The ring of light was crushed and the hand of the attainment Buddha was also turned to powder. Yuan Xian's eyes instantly became heated. He looked greedily at the enormous shadow that almost covered Zhong Ru.